Hi, welcome to Montana State of Minds with me, Montana, a channel where we go over and recap the stories that are within those little drugstore novels, those bodice rippers, if you will, dating all the way back to the dear 1960s and beyond. Just those dirty novels your grandma, your mom, maybe an uncle were reading and keeping hidden from you. But here on this channel, we recap them, we go over them, and we most of the time cry because the stories within are just absolutely so heart-moving. I hope everybody is having a great May. It's almost summertime, my favorite season. You would think me being so abysmally pale, summer would not be my favorite season. It's a tricky season for me. Don't get me wrong. It's a tricky season for me, but I love summer. I love being hot. I love sweating. I love heat. I don't even mind humidity. That being said, I hope everybody's having a good summer, even if you don't like the heat. Just to recap what we were going over on our post last week. So we were getting Sea Treasure, okay? Sea Treasure by I think Joanne Haley or whoever. And it was going to be part of our Mermaid Summer, of which I'm well aware of Mermaid May. I know, I have an Instagram. I know of Mermaid May or what, Mermay, excuse me. I didn't think of it when I made Mermaid Summer. So anyways, next year we'll be more on par. We'll be more on theme and we'll read a better mermaid in actual May. That novel, for those who are new, we found a mermaid-based 1990s paperback novel, like a bodice ripper, which is so rare. There's a lot of fantasy ones, but to see a mermaid on the cover is so rare. And we were like, oh my God, we need to buy it. And it was, I think, like when we first looked at it, it was like, what, $60 to $80? And everybody was like, that's way too much money. Oh my God. No. Don't you dare buy that, Montana. And I didn't. I listened, which y'all were right. Like, that is a lot for a paperback novel. Little did we know that it would hike up to $500. In this economy? Sweetheart, I mean, it's a book. There is no book worth that much money. I don't know what on earth made that eBay seller. And now all of them, like on eBay, if you look it up, they're all that much. One user did find one for like, I think it was $60 something, and I immediately bought it. And it took a month to get here. And I hadn't heard from him, and so I emailed him and I said, hey, haven't gotten my book. And they said, oops, we'll refund you. We don't have it. We sold it to you by mistake. Which is not the first time that's happened to me. Why is eBay and all these book sites selling books they don't have? If you ain't got it, take it down. Take down the post. Like, it seems like it's easier to take down the post than have to send 9,000 emails to people who are buying these books that you don't have. Anyways, we're still on the hunt for Sea Treasure. That being said, don't worry, because we still have Soul Song here, okay? And that's about a merman. And that's going to be our next book, but we'll get to that later and we'll like kind of dive into like, what's this about? But don't worry, we do still have some mermaid content. And on the Patreon, we will cover mermaid movies. There's one like scary mermaid movie that I watched one random day off of like Netflix or something that I have got to find and recap for y'all, because I think about it constantly. I think about the twist ending constantly. So I'm definitely going to recap that one. And maybe Splash, because I think people know Splash, but they've never seen it, and they forget like John Candy and, oh my God, who's the dad off of Schitt's Creek? Eugene Levy and Tom Hanks and like Daryl Hannah, like all these amazing actors in that movie. Like, it's a great movie that I don't think people remember how horny Madison the mermaid was. Like, I rewatched that with my kids and I was like, wow. She has an appetite. We will find some other mermaid book to cover for July, because I do still want to do Mermaid Summer, because I love mermaids. I have a mermaid tattoo. But we're not in mermaid territory just yet. No, we're actually like quite the opposite. We're quite far away from the ocean because we are in Scotland. We are in the Highlands, and I know a lot of you Outlander people wanted me to do a Highlander kind of aesthetic, and we did, because we have for this month The Mirror and the Magic. And I'm going to tell you real quick, like I told y'all on the posts, they don't look anything like this. They do not have hair dryers. They do not have wax strips. They do not have, I mean, God bless the models on this cover. They look fabulous. Just the characters in this book, no. We will go over the cover as we usually do. Oh, if you're new, this is what we do. We go over the cover. Okay. We go over fictional author lore where I look at the picture of the author, nothing else, and I just make up a story about her because I just like doing that. I think it's fun. And then we recap the novel. And then at the end, we go over we go over our thoughts, how we felt about the novel. And then we go over next month's and all that stuff and Patreon content and all that crap. Now, this book, just to give y'all like how I felt off the cuff, not a lot happens in this book. Not a lot happens. There's one sex scene, kind of two, but it's a fade to black, but one. Again, I say this every video, but I'm going to keep preaching it. I'm going to keep preaching that these are seen as like porn for women, and there's literally like one sex scene in each of these novels. We read these every month, and every month there's like barely anything happen, like sexual, and it's just like, if again, it's the sexism of the women author world of like, oh, if a woman writes it, it must be porn. Like, don't get me started. Anyways, but yeah, like one sex scene. This lacks in plot necessarily. However, I loved this dialogue. This was some of the funniest shit I've ever read. I read it. You had to read it out loud because a lot of it was written phonetically in a very good Scottish accent. I wish I knew Scottish people to hire to read these lines, because I'm going to read them to you and I'm not going to do it justice, because I've been trying to do a Scottish accent. I've been trying to practice. If you can imagine, it's a very hard accent. So I'm probably going to shoot it straight because I don't want you to be so distracted with my bad Scottish accent that you don't listen to the actual dialogue. So I'll probably just shoot it straight and read it in just male voices or female voices. But I wish there were a group of Scottish people I knew to read these lines, because they are hilarious. They are hilarious. Coral Smith Sachs absolutely captures that dry Scottish wit, the banter. Real quick, I'm like already kind of like recapping it, but real quick, there's these two, and then there's seven other clan members, and the banter with the 7 guys and like the chief and stuff, hilarious. I could absolutely picture all of this happening on a mini TV series. It was so funny. And you really, like, I know what you're saying. Like, wow, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's like 12 characters in this novel. But you gravitate towards all of them. They're all written. They're all fleshed out. You don't get them confused. You're not like, wait, is that one Scottish guy? You're like, no, that's this one and this one. I'm not going to go too into detail about each character because it is so many. But if you choose to read this novel, do know it's hilarious. And it's not confusing. I know there's a dozen characters, not confusing at all. I've been like vocal stemming some of these lines because I read them out loud and I'm like, that's hilarious. And so I've been vocal stemming some of these lines. This is a really funny, like, again, it lacks in plot. Not a lot happens, but it's fucking funny. Let's go ahead and dive into this gorgeous but not accurate cover. So, oh God. And it's not a step back. I know we had a step back with Dazzling Brightness. This one it's not, but it is. Like, it has a cover. It has cover A, if you will. And then you do open to another picture. But it's not, I don't know. Is this a step back? I don't know. But I'm going to I'll go over this first cover and then briefly kind of describe this second cover. It's not that different, honestly. It just looks like this was like pose A and then this was like pose B. Anyways, that being said, so this is going to be for our audio listeners who are driving or cleaning or knitting or doing whatever y'all do. Okay. This is going to be a tangerine orange cover. So picture like tangerine orange very bright orange. Coral, Smith, Saks, The Mirrors and Magic, gold foil. Gold foil font. Very warm cover. Everything's real warm on this cover. In the bottom right corner, it's going to say a fairytale romance with this cute little fairy. And there is a fairy in this book. There is a fairy in this book. That's kind of why I wanted to do it for May, because I know like May Day and Midsummer and all that good stuff. So I kind of want to do like a fairy novel. There's a little tiny blonde naked fairy. She's all crouched down, you know, like you do, fetal position with little lilac see-through white wings. Very cute. I don't know how I would feel if like a tiny little girl, like naked fairy existed around here. Like I know some people like fairies could be real, but it's like if they look like that, that's terrifying. The guy, his name is Derek, but it's like a Scottish, it's Darack, like Derek. You can tell how bad my Scottish accent is. Anyways, but we're going to call him Derek because we're not Scottish here. Okay, let's get, and this is the cover Derek. This is not book Derek. Book Derek we'll get into. Cover Derek is a white man, if you can imagine. He's got a real button nose. Like his nose, I'm just like, that's not a Scottish nose. That's a cute nose. That's a something else. I don't know what it is, but it's not a Scottish nose. It's a real cute little button nose, real straight. Like you would pay for that nose. And he has gorgeous brown hair. I mean, feathered to the Scottish gods. Straight, it's brown. He's a brunette. He's got this little bang, like very I'm trying to think, like a Fabio with brown hair. Yeah, just a hairless brunette Fabio. And like, it's hard to tell on this cover at this moment in time, but he has a green kilt, a green and gold kilt around his waist. And then his little tan tunic here is being ripped open by Julia. And we'll get to Julia in a minute, but it's just, you know, Superman style, just chest out and not a hair on that chest. All the hair on his head, feathered brunette blowout up top, you know, feathered bang. Not a hair, not a 5 o'clock shadow. They did not like hair back then. They were like, if I see a goddamn hair that's not his eyebrow or coming out of his skull, oh my God. But yeah, Superman style, ripping it open. He's got his right hand holding a big old sword, and his left hand he's holding Dear Julia. And now let's get into, and he's looking at her, you know, he's got his chest out and he's like looking down at her as one does. And let's get into Julia. Julia, this could be her, I guess. No, because Julia has black hair in the book. And she didn't wear blue eyeshadow. Anyways, okay. We've got this woman. And of course, it's a model, so she's gorgeous. Amazing. Again, both of these people have amazing bone structure. She's got brown hair. And it's tied up, half down. And she's got like teal little flowers behind her ear. Again, she's got a light dusting of blue eyeshadow, which is wild, but it's the 90s. I think this was made. And then what she's wearing is an off-the-shoulder. Picture what Merida's mom was wearing in Brave, but burnt orange. That Texas Longhorn burnt orange with like a gold embroidery on the top. And then she's got like that chain belt around her hips. It's essentially that. Very Macbeth, you know, very Macbeth coded era. And again, she's got her leg hiked up on that kilt, and he's got his sword over her leg, and she's ripping his tunic open, and they're just breathing into each other's mouths. And there's like little monarch butterflies. That's also another thing. It's like, it's this very orange. Again, if you have a chance, glance up real quick. It's a very warm orange cover, which is nice because it really stands out. Anyways, and then you open it and we go to a cool toned, and I don't know if I can pull up a larger picture of this, but they're in a stream, which is kind of wild. But this one looks a little bit better. You can see her nipples through the dress. That's always fun. He looks the same again, a kilt. He's kneeling down. He's got his sword in the ground and they're just enraptured. But like purple wisteria is kind of around them in this river. It's cute, but it's definitely like not as warm and bright and gold as this cover. This one's a lot cooler. Can you see them? Anyways, my ring light's probably shining on that. Very cute cover, very not accurate cover. Okay, so our author lore is actually going to be cut short because I couldn't find a picture of this woman. She must be a fairy. I could not find a picture of her, sadly. So we won't be doing author lore. I tried looking. Okay, so some pictures do pop up with Coral Smith Sachs, but I don't know if it's 100% her. Like I've told y'all before, sometimes like obituaries pop up. Sometimes like other people with the same name pop up. So I don't have an 100% this is her picture. You know, she's not Janelle Taylor out here taking glamour shots at the mall. But let's just go off and say Coral Smith Sachs, obviously an introvert. Probably doesn't go out much. Probably wishes she could jump through a rune stone and end up in Scotland. Don't we all? Although I wouldn't want to go to the Highlands. That's like I told y'all, I love summer. I love heat. I love humidity. I want to sweat. I don't want to sweat, but I'm okay with sweating. And the Highlands, as my dad once told me, it's just green shit on rocks. I'm kidding. Scotland's very beautiful. I actually had, fun fact about me, we can't do author lore. Let's do Montana lore. So I had a hyperfixation for a very long time. I still kind of do. Don't get me wrong. I still am very interested in it. But I mean a hyperfixation on the Lochness Monster in middle school. And this was olden days when we didn't have the internet. So I just had to check out every book I could on the Lochness Monster, which in Blanchard, Louisiana, not a lot. But there was enough. There was enough, surprisingly. And I would just read and consume everything I could, every movie I could find. I almost wanted to do for the Patreon. We'll get into the Patreon movie for this month, but I kind of wanted to do this Loch Ness Monster movie with Ted Danson from Cheers. It's so obscure and no one knows what the fuck I'm talking about, but he's in a Loch Ness Monster movie. If y'all want me to do it, I'll do it. We'll talk about that at the end. We'll talk about the movie options. But yeah, I had such a hyperfixation on Loch Ness Monster. So Scotland, don't get me wrong, totally want to go. I want to go around Loch Ness, make sure maybe they missed something. You know, I'm like a dad that goes back to where like Kennedy was shot and just walks around just to make sure everything was covered. You know, I don't want to leave a rock unturned. Like that's me. It's like we gotta go to Scotland. Montana's got to double check. Okay. Because let's be honest, it's a lot of guys out there doing it. It's a lot of men. Get a crew of women out there. We'll find her. And we probably won't tell anybody because we respect her privacy. We'll see her and we'll go, you know what? Do you, Nessie? I understand. Okay? I understand. But I had such a hyperfixation on Loch Ness Monster, and then it went into lake monsters in general, and then it went into ocean monsters, and I had, this is so cute, but I went through a real big phase, I think in like the 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, one of those pivotal years in your preteens, where I obsessed over old-timey nautical maps, because on them, they have sea monsters that we now know as actual sea, like whales and squids and stuff. And so I liked to look at old nautical maps during lunch in middle school and try to figure out, again, it was before the internet. So I was trying to figure out, what could this animal be? Is it a whale? What were they looking at? And they said, no, it's a dog with a bishop's hat on it. What the fuck were y'all looking at? And like to our modern brains, it's like, oh, they looked at a fucking squid. But in their like little medieval heads, they were like, it's a dog with a bishop's hat on it. I don't know. And that kind of goes into our mermaid thing. Like I just had such an aquatic mystery. I think we all had our like Wednesday Addams moment of just like the Bermuda Triangle, Atlantis. Us little girls, we were all just obsessed with the sea. We wanted to know what was in there. What you got in there? And now that we're adults, I don't want to know. You keep your secrets, ocean. You keep those secrets. Don't involve me. Kind of like space. It's not my business. It's not my business. But that is a thing. I feel like you're either really interested in aliens and space, or you're really interested in the ocean. But just know, I definitely spent a lot of lunch periods looking at old nautical maps at ye old middle school. That's if you're wondering if I was cool. And honestly, I still get that way. I love looking at like old drawings of like dragons and stuff and just being like, what were they seeing? You know? Like, I love old mythology like that, because now with our modern brains, we're just like, did they really see an alien, or was it like just, you know, a branch going through the sky? All right. That's enough about me and my hyperfixations. Let's get into this novel. Disclaimer. I'm not a professional voice actress yet. I'm manifesting it. I'm not a professional voice actress. Again, I'll try to do some fun Scottish stuff on the more lighter notes where it's not so serious. But I wish I could do one, but I can't. So I don't want to ruin the literature of this novel with my bad Scottish accent. So when I do Derek's voice, it will probably be shooting it straight. Probably just do a guy's voice. I wish I could whisper Scottish nothings into y'all's ears. I truly tried. I've been practicing. It's just not cutting it. So I don't want to do a disservice to Scottish culture. Okay. But maybe on the lighter ones, I'll have more fun with it, because you got to practice. Not a professional. We're just having fun. We're recapping. No triggers in this one that I can think of. Yeah, no triggers. Let's get into it, all right? This is The Mirror and the Magic by Coral Smith Sachs. Little fun note, I like these old novels because they have like handwritten stuff in them, and this one apparently belonged to Mike. So, thank you, Mike. I always like to read the first paragraph just to get the vibe. Chapter 1. It all happened so fast. First the sound like the popping of champagne corks, then the thunk of limp forms falling to the floor, the crash of steel bowls on tiles, the running footsteps in the car that sped away in the alley. Julie Addison had seen and heard all of it. She'd seen the killers from the tiny window in the door of the walk-in freezer at Martine's restaurant. She heard the sounds of their getaway when she stepped, terrified, yet desperate, out of her frigid hiding place into the kitchen where 2 mob lieutenants lay dead on the immaculate floor. She hadn't been warm since. So, we're starting off with a mob drive-by that she is witness to. So, we open with Julia, and Julia witnessed a mob shooting at her restaurant that she worked there as a chef. And she hid in the giant deep freeze, which is not a bad place to hide. However, she has been in hiding in Scotland because in her mind, she was like, the last place New York mobsters are going to look is like a tiny village in Scotland. She's been literally not just in Scotland, but in just her room. She hasn't even left her like cabin in Scotland because she's so scared they're going to find her. She decides to go for a drive. And of course, as she goes for a drive, someone drives up behind her and starts shooting at her. She's driving. I know what you're saying. Like, wow, this is really like hitting off pretty quick. It does. Like the first few pages, she's literally running from mobsters again in Scotland. And they're shooting after her. And she drives her car into like the fucking Scottish woods. And she like, of course, it rams into like 9,000 fucking rocks. It's nothing but rocks over there. And she jumps out of her car and just starts booking it, running. And this guy's shooting at her. What a vacation. And she jumps through these real big boulders, and we all know what's going to happen. Jumps through, real big boulders, bullets going past her like Matrix style. And she hits with a thud. She wakes up to what she thinks is a bunch of Scottish guys in regular Scottish clothes, because they're in kilts and tunics. And she's just like, okay, maybe they like the old stuff. And they are all surrounding her when she wakes up. And she's immediately just like, I have a black belt. Don't fuck with me, fellas. You know, and they, of course, think she's a witch. Of course they think she's a witch because she has a black belt. And they're like, oh, she's got a black belt. Like a witch. She thinks that she stumbled into a reenactment. And she's trying to talk to them like as if they're actors. And she's like, y'all, I'm trying to like run from these mobsters. If you could take me back to my hotel. And they're like, what's a hotel? Listen here, witch. They blindfold her. Always great. They blindfold her and take her through the woods. And she arrives at a cabin and a home, if you will. And they take her blindfold off. And a man shows up to what she describes as Conan the Barbarian. And this Conan Barbarian type, again, she really describes him as this big, hulking Scotsman with like chest hair. And she really kind of describes him as like Merida's dad, like just this real big, hairy ogre of a man. Very Shrek, you know? She's not like, oh my God, what a fine, like in our last novel with Time Kept Promises, definitely not like, oh my God, he should be a model. She's just like, oh my God, this man is like huge. Anyways, Derek McStroud, that is the clan leader. And he says to the gentleman, this girl is no wee modest milkmaid, fellas. Be careful. But Derek, he makes this really good observation I loved. Because Julia has really long ebony black hair. And she has very pale, unblemished skin. And he immediately is like, she's not from here. Her skin is immaculate. And her hair, like it's one of those things I'm like, that would be true. If any of us went back in time, like our skincare regimens and like our health and our teeth and our hair maintenance and stuff would immediately kind of set us apart. I don't think people realize like just even the bare minimum of skincare and like my hair. Like if I went back in time, they'd be like, why is your hair 5 different colors? And then I'd have to be like, I'm growing it out. It's like a thing. But our skincare alone, you know, and that's not to say they didn't have skincare back then, but y'all have to understand the stuff we can get at Walmart is a lot better than what like the ancient Egyptians were mixing together in ceramic jars. Okay. And y'all fucking know it. So don't sit there and tell me they had cosmetics, Montana. They did. But they did not have, you know, Korean beauty outside of Korea. even that dynasty in Korea didn't have, you know, Tony Moly and Sawasu and all these brands. And as Derek is observing her skin and hair care and teeth, and he's just like, she is not from here. The men are rifling through her purse, and she has all these potions. All of these potions. She is a witch. She's got a bag full of potions. And of course, it's like, you know, gum and perfume and a hair comb and a mirror and lipstick and, you know, like just the shit that we always have in our purses. But to these men, it's not looking too good for Julia. Derek can't help but shake the feeling he knows her from somewhere. He's like, I know her. To which I'm kind of like, she has such an iconic face in your time. I feel like you would know the girl that doesn't have any sun damage. And I'm going to be reading a lot in this novel because, again, not a lot happens, but a lot of dialogue happens. So, hold on. She stood proud once her gag was removed. He saw wide, soft lips of rich rose red with pearly teeth peeking out between them. By God, the Morsens had sired one of the veriest beauties in all of Christendom. Even now his body grew warm at the sight of her tongue, moistening her lips, which were dry from her gag. He shook off the sensation. He wasn't a boy about to be led by his body's whims. This woman posed a serious threat to his home and his people, whether a witch or merely a Morrison spy. Side cut. So this clan, Derek's clan, is at war with the Morrison clan. Very Hatfields McCoy. So anytime you hear Morrison, they assume that she is a witch or she's working for the Morrisons and she came to spy on them. Either way, not good for Julia. "What do you have to say, woman?" he asked. I said, "Where am I and who are you? And what right do you have to kidnap me, an ordinary tourist, and drag her off to the wilds? If this is your idea of..." "What?" Derek held up his hands. "Gods, woman, does your tongue work at both ends?" A tint of rose came to her cheeks and her expressive eyes flashed. "Look, you're in enough trouble for bringing me here," she said, pointing straight to his chest. "Don't compound your mistake by insulting me." The men around her gasped and took a step back. Derek only stared at the daring young woman. To speak such boldness to a clan chief, a man twice her size and armed, into the bargain, showed either great courage or plain idiocracy. He wondered which applied in her case. "Mistress Morstan, that's not my name." "Oh? And what do you call yourself?" "My name is Addison, Julia Addison, and you're going to be in big trouble with the American consulate." "Am I indeed?" He pondered her words. Many of them made no sense, and her accent topped even the French for sheer oddity. She might not be an idiot, but was she mad? He studied her again. Could eyes so clear and intelligent belong to a madwoman? She didn't look like a raver. Perhaps it was all an act. He didn't need this right now, not with the Morrisons nipping at their sides like wolves. "Whoever you claim to be," he said at last, "ye must know that the penalty for trespassing on McStrown land is death." Her face paled. So she possessed enough sense to fear her own demise, he mused. "Death?" she squeaked. "Wouldn't a fine and a time served be sufficient? After all, I wasn't actually trespassing. I was running away from a guy who was trying to kill me." "Kill ye?" he scowled. "Seems you're made for trouble, young miss. Have you no husband to keep you home safe?" "I'm not a mistress. I'm a missus," she said impatiently. "And as for trouble, you can't scare me. There's no law in England that allows the death penalty for trespassing." "Ye aren't in England," he drawled. "Well, in Scotland, then. Great Britain. It's all the same." There was another gasp from the men around her. This one threatened to remove all the available oxygen from the room. She looked around her in puzzled defiance. "Lass, you're sadly addled," Derek said. "Ye don't even ken where ye are." He rose from his chair. "I'll spare ye for now. I won't kill a witless thing that knows no better." "Then I'll be going." "Nay, ye will not. I may show mercy, but I'm no fool. You're to stay right here until we've learned more about ye and where ye come from. If you've played false, it won't go easy with you." She stared at him, outrage and fear snapping in her eyes. "And by what authority can you make me prisoner here?" He came to stand over her. "I am the McStrown." "So, I am the Addison," she retorted. "He chief of your clan?" "No, I'm just a plain ordinary American citizen, but that means I don't fall under your clan laws." He shrugged. "Perhaps not, but you'll be staying all the same. Until someone comes to ransom ye." "Ransom? So this is a kidnapping?" She gave a short laugh. "Joke's on you, Chief McStrown, because there's no money in my family. You're not going to get a penny. Then you'll be staying." And he motions for his boys to take her to the dungeon. She is locked up in a Scottish prison. Yay! And again, this whole time, she thinks she's like being held in a reenactment. And she's like, "Y'all, I am not an actor. Let me go. This is not fucking funny. Like, I know y'all hate Americans and we're fucking stupid, but like, quit fucking playing." And they're just like, "This girl has lost her mind." Now, I want to go into what Derek looks like, okay? Because she's kind of fantasizing about him, the hot guy that yelled at her. She conjured up the image of him as she circled the cell. Conan the Barbarian had been her first impression. He was built like one, towering, massively muscled, wrapped in one of those big plaid blankets, his long, powerful legs encased in fur-trimmed boots. His hair was not red like the rest of the men she'd seen, but deep brown and flowing to his shoulders. Heavy dark brows glowered over intensely clear blue eyes. Wide lips frowned beneath a strong, straight nose as he'd stood, feet planted, hands on his hips, the epitome of lunk-headed power. But his voice, that deep, dark voice, reminded Julia of the finest dark chocolate liqueur. His Scots accent added a soft spice to the blend. She'd been incensed by what he said, but utterly fascinated by the voice that had spoken those outrageous words. And he was well-spoken, though his speech sounded somewhat quaint. Not a complete lunkhead, perhaps. What was he doing living up here in the Highlands like a wild animal? What must his wife be like? That is, if he had a wife. And then she's like, I can't be lusting and thinking of this man's marital status. I'm in prison. We cut to another woman, because there's only like 3 women in this whole book. We cut to this other woman who is scrying, like the crystal ball, but with like a bowl of water. And she's kind of seeing this play out. And her name is Idana. And Idana is going to be our actual Wicked Witch of the book. But we don't get a lot of her just yet. It just cuts to her kind of watching this unfold. Now we cut back to Julia in the cell. And y'all, for a minute, she ponders, am I at a gay resort? Because there's no women. And she's like, maybe I'm at like a bear club. And they just like want to block up the girl that's like kind of ruining the mood. And I kind of love that for a 1990s novel, that it was just like, maybe you're at a bear club. In the Morrison clan, they are discussing that a lot of their cattle has been slaughtered and left to rot, which we all know back then, even hell fucking now, is like a death sentence for a family's income. You know, it's essentially setting money on fire. We get more information again of the Morrison clan. That's McStrowns. I'm saying that terribly. I'm so sorry, Scottish people. McStrowns versus the Morrisons. That is the Hatfields and McCoys here. We are back in the den, like with these guys, and that's kind of when we get the 7 other clan members, and they are cutting up, and they are so fucking funny. And I wish this was a mini series, because this would be hilarious. And I'm so sorry. This book is so good, and I am butchering Derek's voice. I'm butchering everybody's voice because I can't do a Scottish accent. I love when authors can write such great human sounding dialogue, because how many romance novels do we read in modern times where it sounds like ChatGPT wrote it? And it's like, have y'all ever had a conversation with anybody ever? If you think that this is how people interact, do y'all have friends? But luckily in these novels, they have human interactions apparently and know how to write how people talk. And so let's kind of get into these guys. Now, we're not going to harp on all 7 guys. There's not going to be a pop quiz. So don't feel like you have to remember everybody that I'm about to rattle off. The Bruce cleared his throat. The men fell silent, awaiting his word. Witcher no, the old man said, raising a finger. I say she's a bonny as a maid as I've ever seen. I'd no turn a fine wee bit like her out of my bed in a cold night. Again, this is all written phonetically, so I have to kind of read it out loud to even figure out what he says. He says, I'd no turn a fine wee bit like her out of my bed on a cold night. Let's go on. The men laughed heartily, if a bit self-consciously. Bruce swept the group with a knowing grin. So, you admit the woman's been on your minds? Not just 'cause you think she's going to make the milk's cow's gang dry. And it literally says that. It says, I have to reread this. So ye admit the woman's been on your minds, and not just because ye think she's going to make the milk cow's gang dry. So he's saying she's been on your minds and not because you think she's a witch, huh? We're only human, said Neil. Aye, said Ross. It's been a while since. Whilst, said Gordon, shaking his balding head. Done ye say it? Ross looked apologetic. Pardon, but the lass is fair-faced and fair-limbed. She didn't seem awful dangerous, except... Neil leaned toward him, eyes narrowed. Except what? At the lass, Ross said. She made as if she'd run out when I went to the door. He glanced around the circle defensively. I set her back with my knife, of course. Heads nodded all around. They all gazed into the fire for a while. The room seemed a bit warmer than the fire warranted, some of them noted. Alasdair went back to his perch on the windowsill. Gordon broke the silence. What do you make of the beasts that were slain, Neil? Neil shrugged. Looks like Morrelson mischief. Liam snorted. Thieving bastards. Gordon looked at the ceiling. Takes a thief to know a thief. Liam puffed up like a bantam rooster. He nudged Dugan. Man's worst still is the stubbornness of his heart, said Sophocles. Tell him some folk knows what's theirs and what's not. Dugan, long accustomed to the feud between Liam and Gordon, turned to Gordon. He says some folk knows what's theirs and what's not. Gordon flushed to his shining scalp. True enough. I know my own fowl. Tell him that. Dugan shifted heavily towards Liam this time, looking bored. Says he knows his own fowl, he recited. And ye tell him whilst... The Bruce banged on the table with his ale cup. Listening to the pair of ye is like being pecked to death by your own damn chickens. All that happened years ago, and we're every man a gripping sick of the whole tale. He waved a regal hand. Neil, ye may go on about the kin. And again, I'm doing this no service, but it's very funny. The men want to call a priest to see if Julie is a witch. They want to get a professional involved. Derek goes down to the dungeon to try to negotiate with Julia. And I love this rule. Just a quick line, don't worry. They're kind of negotiating, if you will. Because he's like, okay, we got to get a priest to make sure that you're a witch. And she's like, I'm at a hotel. Like, this is the most ridiculous. Like, y'all really don't break character at this hotel. Y'all have got to chill out and, like, let me out. And he's like, again, I don't know what the fuck a hotel is, lady. Like, miscommunication. Anyways, she says, oh, come on. She placed her hands on her hips. Now you're trying to gaslight me. I know what hotel I was staying in. My stuff is in the room. And that's just a quick... I've just never seen someone mention gaslight outside of like modern TikTok. You know how everybody's like, you're gaslighting me. You're gaslighting me. And outside of the actual movie where we got the term gaslight, like it was just kind of... I was like, oh, this was written in like the 90s. And she... properly used the term gaslight, which now we don't. Now anytime someone tries to like disagree with us, it's like, you're gaslighting me. I just thought that was interesting. It's just kind of fun to see like those terms in like ye old 90s. They allow Julia to kind of get some air, if you will, because she's in like this crappy ass dungeon. And the guys are like, okay, we'll let her out, like a dog. We'll let her out, you know, let her get some air. And she's walking around, and it's obviously like this old little Scottish village. And she's kind of like, am I in a cult? Again, she is making really great observations because she at first is like, is this a gay thing? Of which is not wrong. And then now she's like, is this a cult? Again, not wrong. Okay. I would assume it's a cult. And she's fighting with Derek and the boys because, again, she's being treated like a prisoner because she is a prisoner. I think she says something about like she brings up like the clan thing and Derek tells her like, well, my dad died. So that's why I'm the clan leader. She flushed. I'm sorry. She said it once. That was crass of me, but I hate bigotry of all kinds. Haven't you heard of a person being innocent until proven guilty? This time they positively goggled at her. That was the only word for it, she thought. Goggling. It was a textbook example. Innocent until proven guilty. The one they called Liam still stared wide-eyed. What sort of nonsense would that be? If you didn't think someone was guilty, they wouldn't be in trouble in the first place. It's up to them to prove their innocence if they can. That's just plain backwards, Julia couldn't help arguing. If everyone's guilty before you've even heard their side of the story, then you might as well sentence them before they even come to trial. But... if a body's innocent before you even take him to trial, then you'd be bringing an innocent man to trial. What's the sense in that? Liam looked around the group who nodded in support. Every place is safe to him who lives with justice. That's from Epictetus? Is that a philosopher? I'm sorry, y'all. Epictetus. I don't know. He's naming a philosopher. I don't care if it's from Pee Wee Herman. You guys are positively medieval, she exclaimed. I suppose you think I'm guilty of being a witch, and I'll have to prove to you that I'm... Her voice faded away to a squeak. Oh, you can't be serious. The faces around her were uniformly sullen. She looked to Derek. You wouldn't. You couldn't, she stammered. She seized his sleeve. You can't do this. It's totally ridiculous. This is against the law. He looked away. I am the law. The man named Neil cleared his throat. We've been talking, Derek. We cannot rest easy with that one in our midst. We need to know if she's a witch or no. I'm not. I don't believe in any of that bell, book, and candle stuff. I don't even have crystals in my apartment or incense. Julia looked desperately at the men before her. I'm just a plain, ordinary woman. I didn't want to come here, but I was being chased by mobsters in New York. They were gonna kill me. Who did she say was chasing her? Bruce asked Tommy. Lobsters from York, the boy replied. That's daft, said the old man. Tommy only shrugged. No, you don't understand. Not lobsters. Oh my God, this is too much. And I love that. Where he's like, just real quick, let's go over that. I thought that was a hilarious line of, it's like, who's she running from? And this guy's like, lobsters. And she's like, not lobsters, mobsters, you fucking idiots. Are you firm on the matter? Derek asked the lords, ignoring Julia's agitation. We are, said Gordon stoutly. We'd have her examined. Derek looked about the group. And so say ye all? Not every head nodded, but no one dissented. Julia's heart went cold. If she could only wake up from this nightmare. But she'd already tried pinching herself, and now she had nothing to show but tons of bruises. If you all agree, it will be done. Derek looked at Julia. She thought she saw pity in his eyes and fought against her fears. You'll be charged and stand the questions. But how can I possibly defend myself against such ridiculous charges? I've seen the Crucible. I know my history. She's panicking. I would too. Y'all think that going back in time sounds cunty until you remember most of us are like women on this. Like, I know most of y'all are women. Not going to be a fun time for us. We don't want to go back in time. We're good. We're barely rocking it right now. I don't want to go back in time. Unless I'm invisible, then I will. But no, I'm good right here. Right here. I like this part because she's explaining, like, she's in her cell. She's very upset because she's like, wow, these actors are scaring the piss out of me. And she tells them, like, I'm a Christian too. Because she's like, obviously they're Christians at this time in history. And she's like, I'm a Christian too. I'm a Christian. I'll believe whatever you want me to believe. And she has this line of just, I forget what it says, and I didn't mark it down because I'm an idiot. But she brings up, like, I don't care if you believe in a cosmic muffin. I don't care. Please, I'm not a witch. And of course, the guys are like, what the fuck is a cosmic muffin? And I kind of like this because Derek is explaining why he thinks that she's a witch. And he's explaining the Morriston clan and they have a witch. And he's like, so obviously they hired you to spy on us. But he lets this slide out. But it's rumored that the Morrison's crone can change her shape at will, as many are her kind. She might appear in any form. He looked pointedly at her. Even in the form of a beautiful lass. And Julia's kind of having that meme moment of like, you think I'm beautiful? Like that would be me of just some guys interrogating me and like literally wants to kill me because I'm a witch. And he's just like, you're too beautiful to, not be a witch. And it's just like, so you think I'm pretty? That would be like all the girls and the gays like about to like be hung at the Crucible. And it's just like, so you're saying I'm pretty? Like I'm so pretty you have to kill me. Obviously, this is short-lived, and she has a breakdown in her cell, as we would all do. Again, so many, I think, modern time travel romance novels I've read don't really handle, like these do, of the fucking panic attack you would have if you truly went back in time. Like, she has a panic attack breakdown in her cell of just sobbing. She's like, I'm going to be executed for being a witch because I'm in fucking Scotland in the goddamn 1400s. And Derek and his brother Alistar, we'll learn more about him. Derek has a younger brother named Alistar, and they are going over the concept of innocent till proven guilty that Julia brought up. Because Alistar is kind of like, that's not a bad concept. Like, she kind of had a point. Like, these men, these grown men, again, when given the most duh to like a woman says it, they're just like, that's stupid. And then they later go, I don't know, maybe she had a point. I'm so glad that I thought of that. But anyways, and they bring up the prophet Pee Wee Herman. Because Alistar is kind of like that prophet she mentioned, Pee Wee Herman. And he was talking about innocent till proven guilty. And so they kind of have like this moment of like the prophet Pee Wee Herman, which Paul Rumens is a prophet. Rest in peace. Derek and Alistar travel to go get a priest, but that priest is busy and he won't be back for a few weeks. So they're like, fuck, what the fuck do we do with a witch for a few weeks? And Derek's like, well, maybe her people will come looking for her. You know, like if we just like hang on to her enough, maybe somebody will come popping in looking for her. Obviously, she's going to be there for a while. So they take her out of the dungeon and they put her in just a nice room. There's bars on the windows and she's like, oh, wow, y'all put bars on the windows. And Derek's like, well, I mean, we fight with a lot of other clans. So it's just kind of like all the windows have bars on them. Anyways, but she compliments the room. Again, she still thinks that this is a reenactment camp or a gay bar or something or a cult. And she's like, wow, y'all have really kept up with the decor. This stuff is great. These antiques look brand new. And she also makes the line of, y'all have not broken character once. Y'all are great at this job. Terrifying me. And y'all want to kill me. But man, y'all haven't broke character once. And then she's starting to have in the back of her head, like, could this be real? Because like all these antiques look really brand new. And once again, these guys have not broken character once at all. She's rifling through her things and she brings out a mirror. It was her mother's mirror. And now it's not a huge plot point, but her mother died when she was young and her father remarried and she had a rough time with her stepmom. Anyways. And so this compact mirror is like the only thing she has of her mom left that she hid from her stepmom. So it's very important to her. She's invited to supper time. And it's kind of a cute, funny scene because she's this little, like tiny little Midwestern girl. And these giant Scottish guys are absolutely terrified of her. Like imagine her sitting at the table and everybody just scoots away from her because they think that she's a witch. And so they're just like, I don't want to sit next to her. Her and Alistar, Derek's brother, have very playful banter. It sounds very flirtatious. And I was kind of like, are we going to have like a little tug of war between the brothers with their new favorite toy? Let's read on. We learn that she is from Illinois and she moved to New York to try to find herself as a chef. The food is terrible, if you can imagine. Scotland is not known for its cuisine. It's known for a lot of amazing things. Cuisine's not one of them. That being said, I don't think like 1500 Scottish food any better. So she hates the food and she's also a chef. So she's going to be kind of like nitpicky on her food anyways. And so after dinner, she does yoga. I just thought that was kind of funny. But after her little after dinner yoga, we have this instance. She caught a glimpse of her hand mirror lying next to the basin. A strange golden light emanated from its depths. She leaned over it, scowled at her reflection, then gasped as her own face vanished, only to be replaced with the face of another woman she'd never seen before. "Who are you?" a sweet, liquid voice uttered from the depths of the glass. Julia backed away from the table. "Who are you?" The voice still rose from the mirror. She took a wild look around the room, looking for signs of a hidden camera, hidden video, sound equipment. Was this another test? She saw nothing but heavy beamed ceiling, the whitewashed stone walls. Oh, God, she finally slipped her cable. They'd find her in the morning, huddled in the corner, playing with her toes. Still, her curiosity was aroused. She crept towards the table again, the pale glow still gilded at the tabletop. "There you are," the voice said. "Who might you be?" "You first." "Oh, good, Allison," she told herself. "That's the ticket. Talk back to your hallucinations. Keep it up, and you'll be at the bottom of that old wee lock before you can say Margaret Hamilton." Julie examined the face. Whoever the woman was, she was gorgeous, with exotic, delicate features framed by a cloud of red gold hair. As hallucinations went, this was a doozy. "I think not." The golden glow in the mirror seemed to shiver, and the image began to break. How did you come there? I don't know. How are you doing this? I'll see. Go back to where... Find you. The voice was fading, crackling like static on the old radio. What? Julia leaned forward. Where are you? The mirror fell silent. The glass went cloudy for a moment. Then just as suddenly, it cleared and showed Julia the image of her own face. So remember Idana. She's able to like get into Julia's little mirror. Remember the title of the book is The Mirror and the Magic. The next day, so each guy walks Julia daily, like they kind of take turns. And so she's walking around, I forget with which one. And she brings up Chariots of Fire, the movie. And of course, this guy, I forget which one she's walking with. And he's like, what? And she's like, yeah, like Chariots of Fire, you know, the movie. And he's like, what's a movie? Very like Time Kept Promises. And so she tells him the plot of Chariots of Fire. She recaps the movie, kind of like I do. And he loves it. He's like, that's a great story. And so we kind of have a montage of her every day going for a walk with each of the 7 men. And we get to learn about each man and their personalities and all of that good stuff. It would make a good montage on if this is, again, a TV series. We cut back to Idana, and she is walking around her little witch tower. And she's wondering who the fuck that girl is. And she's starting her plan. Because just a backstory on Idana, she really, really wants Derek. And she's like, who the fuck's the girl at his house? That's my man. That's my man. It is now Derek's turn to babysit, technically. And he doesn't want to go walk around the village. He's got work to do. He's the clan leader. And so they argue, as they do in these books. You know, you got to love this banter. And he's like, I got to go check cattle. You got to come with me. And it's very on Hercules when Hercules throws Meg on Pegasus and she screams. It's very that moment because he's like, I got to go do work. You're just going to have to come with me. And he just hoists her on top of his big horse. And he's like, you better hang on, little girl, because we got to go. And she's like, what are you talking? Ah! And they go check on cattle. And they come upon a scene where there's a baby calf, fresh baby calf. And the mother has passed away. And this baby is about to die. Because, I mean, if they don't immediately get... it just escaped me. I have cows and it just escaped me. Colostrum or whatever it's called. The nutrients before the milk. Like 95% of those calves are going to die. Again, just a side tangent. Nothing pisses me off more than TikTokers and social media people who promote livestock and easy living and farm living and all that bullshit. Homesteading TikTok pisses me off to no end because it's incredibly hard to do livestock. It's incredibly hard. Things die all the time. Do y'all know how many baby goats and things that I've had to take a shovel to and throw and like get rid of? Because you can't just throw it where you can't throw it out in the woods. It attracts coyotes. So you got to go like take it somewhere. It's awful. Again, I hate homestead TikTokers because they're like, you should grow your own cabbages and broccoli and you should milk your own cows and you should have goats. And it's like, do you know how much money and stress all of that causes? It's very rewarding, don't get me wrong. And I'm not saying don't do it. But just like in this book, it is extremely, extremely hard to make a living off of a homesteading lifestyle. I mean, it is 24/7. I had a garden once and a hailstorm knocked it out. And I worked so hard on that garden. And I was like, oh my God, my crops. And like I said, I just have pissant little hobby cows. I don't really have like a herd, but I live around people who do. And they are losing money left and right. And then like your cows get out and they're in the road. And if they hit somebody's car, you're responsible for it. And then they get sick and you can't take necessarily a cow to the vet. I mean, you can in some places, but again, it just like the ballerina farm people and stuff, they enrage me to no end because they have the money and the privilege to sit there and piss away and play. It's like Marie Antoinette when she had that little play village and she put like bows on the cows and they pretended to milk them. And it was all so cute and cunty. And like real actual farmers whose lives depend on this shit is like, are you fucking kidding me? Again, I'm not saying don't do the homesteading lifestyle. I'm just letting y'all know it's extremely expensive and very stressful. Okay? Goats suck. Okay? There's a reason that lambs are associated with like good followers and stuff, because they're stupid and they just follow you literally into the ocean. And there's a reason that goats are fucking little devils because they don't listen to you and they just do whatever the fuck they want. That's Montana's homesteading rant. I could make a whole video of me just bitching about goddamn homesteading TikToks, because if it's so fucking nice and it's such simple living, why do you have your fucking phone on a tripod filming yourself all day? Put it down and shut the fuck up and just go live your simple lifestyle. Okay? Put the phone down. Anyways, back to this novel. They save the calf because Julia is like, I'll be damned if this calf is gonna die in my arms. And so she's like telling Derek, like, she holds the calf to her to keep it warm. And she's like, take me to another cow that's just had a baby that this baby can get milk from. And he's like, it's not going to last. It's going to die by the time we get to it. And she's like, well, we'll fucking see. Fucking go. And they make it, and she gives the calf to the other mom, and the mom accepts it, and the baby drinks. And Derek's like, it's not promised to live, but at least we gave it a chance. And he really respects her for it, because he's like, he's like a boss. She showed great leadership skills. She was calm under pressure. And he's kind of like, okay, Julia, I see you, girl. Leadership respects leadership. Now, of course, it starts hailing. They got to go hide out somewhere. They go to a cave, and don't worry, the horse is put under a different like encampment. Don't think he left his horse out in a hailstorm, because that was my concern when I was reading it. I was like, where are you going to put your horse? You can't just leave it out in the middle of a hailstorm. But he puts it somewhere else in a different cave. I don't fucking know. They, throughout this cave scene, again, the dialogue's great, and it's just really funny to me. I hope I can do it justice. Welcome to Castle McStrone, a voice said next to her ear. Julia levitated. God, Derek, she cried. Don't sneak up on me like that. I nearly went into cardiac arrest. Where's that? Where's what? Never mind. Keep your secrets. I'm going to make myself comfortable. He goes to get food. It's in a clay pot. It's disgusting, but it's food. She reached out and received a hard biscuit and a piece of dry, strong cheese. She hadn't realized she was hungry until the first bite entered her mouth. She sighed, chewing. He chuckled. It's not as fancy as what you're used to, I imagine, but it's here. I can't imagine anything better. She wiped the crumbs around her mouth. Why do you say fancy? She wished she could see. Between flashes of lightning, the place was as dark as a drain pipe. Was he making fun of her? You have a fancy way about ye. The way you handle a spoon, how you always look for a clean spot to sit down or touch. That silver mirror you're always carrying is a lady's trinket, and no cheap one. And that makes me fancy? Or it might just be you put on airs. She bristled. What you see is what you get. He laughed, the sound a small bit of pleasant thunder rolling through the darkened room. As it is, I cannot see much. She softened. That's true. I don't suppose there's like electricity here. There was a pause. Where would it be? Are you pulling my leg? Another pause. Would you like me to? No! Heat blossomed in her cheek. I just want to see. That's all. Sorry, lass. No lamps in this place either. You've been here before, I take it? I told ye, this is Castle McStrone. Yeah, right. What is it really? And he goes on to say it's kind of like a hunter's lodge that they all kind of like hang out at if they get caught in bad weather or they can't make it back to the actual house at night. And here they kind of like feel each other out. He's kind of saying, you're not just like a passerby, but I am a stranger. Ye are, but not the sort that happens by any other day. You're too strange a stranger. She sighed. It's something about me, isn't it? I'm the exception to the rule. You're exceptional, and we don't know if you're dangerous. You can't still be hanging onto that witchcraft crap, she exclaimed. you don't really believe I'm a witch? And they go on to have banter of, she's like, if I was a witch, wouldn't I use my witch powers to bring that cow back to life or do something about the calf? You know, and he's like, well, maybe you were hiding your witch powers because you knew that I would know, that you would think that I would know. Like, it's like that kind of thing. She's like, if I was a witch, wouldn't I do this? Wouldn't I make light? Wouldn't I not be in a hailstorm with a guy who fucking hates me? Perhaps I believe that your powers are all for evil and none for good. I still don't believe it. You're too sensible and straight to believe in this stuff. You may believe I'm a spy, but I don't for a minute think that you think I'm a witch. Ah, so you know me well. I know your type. I see. A flash of light showed her in his face. He was leaning close to her, and she caught the glint in his eyes. She swallowed. He was too close, and when she looked into his eyes, even for that brief second, she felt he saw into her as no one else had. She shifted and brushed at her wet clothes. How long do you think the storm will last? She asked, at a loss for something to say. It may let up soon. It may go on all night. Either way, night's fallen, and we cannot start for home till morning. So I guess we'd better get some sleep. She squinted into the darkness, hoping to spy some sort of cot or blanket. Right. She heard movement beside her, and suddenly a damp strip of leather was being wrapped about her wrist. What are you doing? She cried. Making sure I get a good night's sleep. He kind of handcuffs her in a way to him so she can't run away. And she tries to wiggle out of the strap, you know, like you do with a handcuff or a bracelet. You're like trying to like squeeze your hand out of the strap because it's a leather strap. It gives. But as she's trying to like wiggle out of it while he's asleep, he immediately yanks her over and she like lands on top of him staring at his face. Like, it's such a great scene. Again, remember, like, she's laying next to him and she's trying to like grease her hand out of this leather strap. And as she's, it's probably right by the knuckles, he throws her onto his chest and she just like is immediately like face to face with this man. And he's just smiling like, gotcha, girl. Where you going? And as he is like kind of looking at her and she's absolutely terrified because she, you know, obviously got caught, he starts playing with her hair because it's long. So he just kind of twisting it. He's like, where you going? Again, for someone who's so terrified that she's a witch and he's like such a clan leader, he's awfully flirty. However, obviously they fight and she turns over, still strapped to him. And he's obviously a little aroused by the whole interaction. But we have him say this. Bah, he whispered. So he'd made a mistake in riding out with her. He made a mistake in tying her to him. No harm had been done. He'd be more cautious in the future. He'd keep his peace of mind by leaving Julia Addison strictly alone. He could do that. He could. And for his next feat, he'd sprout wings and fly. I don't know why I read that, like still trying the Scottish thing. But he obviously can tell it's going to be a long night. They go home and the gang gets food poisoning. Because if you can imagine a kitchen back in ye old Scotland or any other time, it's absolutely fucking filthy. And so they all get fucking food poisoning and they all think they're going to die. And obviously Julia's like, calm down. You have food poisoning. But I guess back then it's kind of like Oregon Trail. Like you can die of dysentery. And it's kind of funny because the whole time she's trying to like clean her hands and like take care and like make soups and make teas to help their tummies and like get them all to lay down. And she's like, y'all are going to throw up for a little bit. It's okay. And the whole time Derek's just staring over her and he's just like, what does he say? He's kind of like constantly behind her, just like, well, that's not how we do it. Well, that's not how we do it. You don't need to do that. And he says that killing a fowl after evening prayers brings ill luck and danger to a house, to which she smacks her head on her hand on her forehead. And she's like, oh my God, I've forgotten all about the fowl killing after prayers thing. Good thing Gordon upchucked early, huh? She said, she smiled, softening her sarcastic tone. I think the ill luck has already hit, don't you? I think I can help turn it around with the aid of some good old-fashioned chicken soup. She wants to make chicken soup. She needs a chicken. And Derek's like, well, you can't kill a chicken after evening prayers. It's bad luck. And meanwhile, 7 guys are throwing up. And she's like, I think it's bad luck, Derek. I think we're good. Okay? I don't think it can get worse. Obviously, the men are feeling better. Derek turned slowly and gave her a long, level stare. I'm grateful for what you've done with my men, he said calmly. Doubt not that you'll be recompensed. Recompensed? Recompense. Is that a word? I don't know. But no, I cannot let ye wander about this place without anyone to watch ye. You're a prisoner still. Make no mistake. She hurled a wilted parsnip at his head. He ducked easily and caught it on the fly. You barbarian! She yelled, hefting another root. How can you stand there and say I'm your prisoner when I'm the only thing standing between you and the death of your men? That's right, death. You didn't even know what you put in that stew, did you? You didn't even think that it might have something that would give someone a deadly, even fatal sickness. He eyed her. Ye said it wasn't fatal. It isn't, not if someone knows how to treat it. Fortunately for you, I do. You were going to set leeches to poor Gordon and make him sicker than ever. If you don't know how to treat it properly, food poisoning can cause complications that can lead to death, not just a bad case of cookie tossing. And what has this have to do with me watching you? She launched another parsnip his way. This one caught him by surprise, and she got the small satisfaction of hearing a good, solid thump in the middle of his broad chest. Do you think for 1 minute that I'd bother to help you and your men if I was the enemy? Would I be up to God knows what hour of the night cooking a chicken and scrubbing your hideous pots and pans if I was trying to kill you all? Stranger things have happened. Ugh! She turned back to the pot of broth and began stirring vigorously, muttering under her breath. What do you say, Julia? She slowed her stirring. He stood behind her, close enough so that he barely had to speak above a whisper. And he had said her name in that whiskey satin voice. They talk. They see each other's perspectives. She's like, look, I get it. You're trying to protect your clan. I understand a lady showing up in a time of witches seems a little witchy. I get it. However, not a fucking witch. And he's like, okay, I get it. Like, if you weren't a witch, it would be hard for you to prove that you're not a witch. I get it. Like, they're both kind of like meeting in the middle of, she's like, I understand you're trying to protect your men. And he's like, and I understand there's a possibility you couldn't be a witch. However, I like this. As they're kind of like talking about it, he absent-mindedly starts massaging her shoulders. For the audio listeners, I'm like, like he's just kind of like they're just talking in the kitchen and he's just not even thinking about it. And he just starts rubbing on her shoulders and she's just like not going to stop him. But she's like, oh my God, what? We have a kitchen cleaning montage. She is scrubbing that kitchen down because if you can imagine, I mean, have y'all been to a fraternity kitchen or like a police department, a fire department kitchen, like a predominantly male kitchen? I'm not saying it's filthy. I know some of y'all men, y'all like to clean. There's girls out there. A girl's bathroom is disgusting. I'm not sitting here saying one sex is cleaner than the other. But stereotypically, let's imagine a bunch of Scottish lords. They're not going to Lysol wipe down the counters every evening. So again, we have a cleaning montage of all these guys with their aprons and their rubber gloves. I'm saying that metaphorically. Of course, there's not those things. But they are just getting the Fabuloso out and just scrubbing it down. Because they don't want to get sick again. However, when she's exhausted and she goes to bed at night, the small detail I picked up, nobody locks her door. They don't lock her in her door or in her room. They're learning to trust her. Through the power of Fabuloso, they're learning to trust her. As Derek is exhausted laying in his bed, he kind of muses over, Julie's a really good leader. She's a really good leader. Again, respect. A leader respects other leaders. And he's kind of like, she would be a really good, like, wife to a clan. Maybe. I'm just, just playing with the idea. Like, she'd be a good clan leader. And that sounds terrible now that I just said a clan leader. But clan with a C. Scottish clan. Wow. She would be a great Scottish clan leader. And we have a banter between Derek and, again, his little brother, Alistar. And by little brother, I mean Alistar is like in his 20s. Good thing Julia was here, eh? I suppose 'twas only a bit of tainted meat in the stew. We'd have managed. Oh, yes, I forgot your training as a surgeon. Derek scowled. None of your jibes today, lad. I'm that weary I might do something you'll regret. Alisdar took another pull from the flask. Ye can't make me regret anything more than I already do. You haven't lived that long. Alisdar fell silent. Derek peered at him. Have you done something I'll regret? His brother shook his head. Don't worry, big brother. I've no done anything that would make trouble more than a gnat. Or what have you done? Alisdar looked at him for a moment, then looked at the fire. Not a damned thing. Maybe that's the problem. Meaning? Meaning maybe you need a bit more to occupy that clever brain of yours. A wife? And barns, maybe? Alisdar choked on his drink. Oh, aye, he said when he could speak again. You're a fine one to talk of wives and barns. You're the older of us. You're the chief. Don't you think ye ought to take your own advice? Derek reached for the flask. Nor the same. Oh, aye, I forgot. You're not mortal like the rest of us. Him and Alisdar, they have really good banter in this book. Again, I'm not doing it justice. But Alisdar is kind of like the loosey-goosey brother. Again, he's like 24, so he's a lot loosey-goosey. And then Derek is probably like late 20s, early 30s. So he's obviously more serious. We learned that Derek had a bride. He was going to get married, and her name was Isabel. And what happened to Isabel is the Morrison clan killed her. Kind of, Romeo and Juliet, Hatfields and McCoy, that kind of stuff. They kidnapped her and killed her and like brought her to Derek's doorstep. So yeah, he's not real keen on dating or like getting married or even falling in love. And like as Alisdar and Derek are obviously talking about the change, like Derek, not only does Alisdar need probably to get married, but Derek probably should too, because he's like the chief of his clan and like that's an important role. He then has like this doubt in his head of just like, oh my God, is that why Julia's here? Are they trying to get through to me through another woman? And it's like you're sitting there reading it going like, oh my God, Derek, Jesus fucking Christ. Put the guard down for like 5 seconds. But I understand kind of why he has such guards up, because obviously his ex-bride was murdered. But at the same time, he just will not allow himself to have feelings for Julia. It's very frustrating. Because like I said, he's just sitting there like, oh, I have feelings for this girl. Oh my God, that's her plan all along. They're trying to get through me, through my pants, through my heart, whichever comes first. And here we have this Julia's room. The mirror woke Julia. She shivered as she sat on the bed. Night had fallen, filling her room with a velvety darkness, all except for one corner. The faint glow reminded her of Tinkerbell caught in the dressing drawer. But this didn't feel quite as whimsical as pixie dust. She felt that pull once more, that calling to her. Against her will, she slipped off the bed and padded across the cold floor to where the mirror sat on the tabletop, its lavender gold glow reflecting on the wall. She didn't want to look, but she had to. She leaned over the edge once more. She gasped. The glow had become even brighter, and where she should see her own reflection, that other woman's face peered out at her. Who are you? Who are you? Julia saw that the face looked as puzzled as hers. She had the giddy thought that somehow this woman had dialed the wrong number. Who are you? The face repeated. Her New York basic training kicked in. I'm nobody. Why are you contacting me? You don't belong there. The voice seemed to shimmer in the air as if coming through water. Julia shivered even though the sound was melodious, the face lovely. How are you doing this? Did you wire my mirror somehow? Anger began to mingle with Julia's fear. Why are you speaking to me? You don't belong. The voice began fading. Why do you keep saying that? Julia sensed the woman slipping away, and indeed, the image was beginning to lose its sharpness, and the glow from the silver began to dim. "Leave this place. Your life is in peril." The voice faded into a soft, silken hiss, and then it fell silent. The mirror went dark before Julia's eyes. "What is happening to me?" she whispered into the darkness. She shook the hand mirror gently. Her image jiggled in the normal way. Nothing. No other voices, no other faces. Damn it! Wariness swept over her again. She had her fill of this strange place and the strange happenings. She couldn't think anymore. She didn't want to think. She felt her way carefully back to the bed in the inky darkness. Then, with a last shudder, she burrowed under and went back to sleep until the dawn leaked in the window and Derek came knocking at the door, summoning her to breakfast. Julia gets to cook. Yay, because she cleaned the kitchen, and the guys are like, "You're always talking about how shit our food is. Why don't you fucking cook?" And she's like, "Great. I would love to, actually." And there's a montage of her rifling through the ingredients, and if you can imagine, not a lot to work with. But Ross does have a garden, and she's so excited. She's like, "Oh, thank God, something fresh." And we learned, I know earlier I mentioned Gordon and Liam were having a fight where they wouldn't talk to each other, and like Ross had to kind of be the in-between. And the reason they don't talk to each other is because of chickens. Like, long story short, like one of Gordon's chickens went to Liam's house, and so he was like, "Great," and he put it in his coop, and then Gordon was like, "But that's my chicken," and Liam's like, "Well, it's on my property," and now they don't talk anymore. Men. And Derek sees that Julia is not in the kitchen, and he's like, "Oh my God, she got out. Where the fuck is Julia?" And they're like, "Calm down, Derek. She's in the garden with Ross. Take it easy." And he is pissed. He's like, "You're not supposed to be out. You know, y'all can't just be like letting her walk around. She's a witch." You know, he's still like doing that bullshit. And she's like, "Okay, if you want me to fucking cook, I can't cook with the shit that's just in like your nasty ass, like, I need a garden. We need vegetables. We need herbs. We need spices. Okay? Like, calm down. I'm in a garden." And he says this, this one line, "So be it, but don't let me catch you slipping any rose petals in the food. I had them once in Edinburgh. They taste like a man's eating a whore's perfume." I just thought that was funny because I feel the same way. I don't like rose flavored things, but I've never equated it to eating horse perfume. And y'all want to know what gets Julia finally accepting that she's probably in the past? There's no air pollution. She's like, I haven't noticed any planes, any helicopters, any telephone poles, anything. Like, she's like, I don't smell anything. This is the cleanest place in the world. And she's like, maybe I am in the past. Like, that's what got it, girl. The fact there's no airplanes. She is enjoying her time with the guys. Like, they're all kind of becoming friends. However, every time she gets close, Derek kind of subtly reminds her by escorting her everywhere that she's not one of them, that she is still a prisoner. And so every time she kind of gets confident, she's like, this is like kind of fun. She's like, "Oh yeah, they still like think I'm a witch and I'm a prisoner." And she's like, "I feel like a pet almost." And of course, Julia is in her room and that goddamn mirror calls her again. I mean, block that girl. Can you imagine your mirror just keeps going off and it's like, what now? But anyways, long story short, the mirror, Adana, is obviously just like trying to be ominous and like, "You should leave. You should go. Please leave." And Julia's like, "Okay, girl, but you got to tell me more than like, just leave. Like, I know that. I've been trying. How do I leave?" But, okay. As Julia is mid-sentence saying, "You mean go home? You don't The door burst open. Julia shrieked as Derek crossed the room in 2 strides and grabbed the mirror from her hand. He raised his arm and aimed for the wall. Remember, her mother gave her that. Her dead mother gave her that mirror. Ooh, shit. This does not look good. Obviously, they have a fight over the mirror. She's like, "Please do not break that mirror. Like, please do not break that mirror." And he's like, "You are a fucking witch. fucking witch. Because you're talking in this mirror. And she explains, she's like, the mirror calls me. I don't know how it works. I don't know what it does. The mirror calls me. And she kind of has this moment where she's like, I'm lonely. I'll talk to a mirror. It called me. Y'all lock me up in this room and don't expect me to talk to a mirror that's like, I'm lonely, Derek. No one fucking talks to me unless, like, you know, you're there standing over them. I know I'm strange to you, she said. You're strange to me. This is a strange place, a strange time. Please let me have one familiar thing to keep with me. She placed her hand on his arm. I haven't given you a reason to fear me, have I? At the sudden hot spark that lit his eyes, she wished she had said something else entirely. Was he indeed afraid of her? Because he thought she was a witch? A spy? Or was there some other, more intimate reason? She glanced down and realized that all she wore was a thin linen undergown. A surge of warmth began to creep up to her cheeks despite the chill around her. Her hands were resting on Derek's arm, and she felt the powerful corded muscles of that arm shift beneath her touch. She raised her eyes to his. She recalled her wayward thoughts as she had gotten into bed that night. She wanted more than anything to resist the tide that was carrying her towards him, but it was beyond her powers of will. The longing that welled up inside of her, the heat of her desire, combined in such a way that she swayed towards him as if he were the force of the moon and she were the waves of the ocean. She stood on her toes and kissed his stern, beautiful mouth. His arms came around her, pulling her up and into him, melding their bodies perfectly. She slipped her arms about his neck, letting the heat of his big frame soak into her through the fragile cloth of her gown. Nothing had ever felt so entirely right before. His lips teased and coaxed at hers, urging more from her, promising more in return. She sighed, feeling herself turn to liquid in his embrace. Suddenly he reached up, pulled her arms away, setting her back from him. His breath was ragged. What is it? She put her hand to her mouth, feeling suddenly bereft. He shook his head. You play the game nicely, lass. But I will not fall for your trap. If you think you may lull me with kissing, you're wrong. I'm no sort of man who makes decisions with what's beneath my plaid. He handed her the mirror. Keep it, for now. But if I see any signs of mischief, it will go hard on you, lass. Know that. The priest is still to come. Julia watched him go, her heart aching, her feelings stung to the quick, and the sweet warmth of his lips still clinging to hers. When the door shut, she heard once more the click of that heavy iron key in the lock. She ran to her bed and wept. This fucking sucks. Like, all right, let's just like imagine real quick. You go back in time. People think that you're a witch. This one really hot guy that you have like really good chemistry with, and he massaged your shoulders and y'all clean the kitchen together and like y'all are kind of into each other, still thinks that you're a witch. And y'all kiss, and then he's just like, obviously you're a witch because you're trying to lull me with like sex. And she's like, I swear, I just want to sleep with you as a human. Like, fuck. It's so fucking lonely and awful. I know it sounds like hot in concept, but it honestly, to me, I read this and I was like, yeah, I would fucking cry too. This man wants to kill me, but then also wants to sleep with, like, ugh. The guys are kind of talking, and I thought this line was interesting. Quote, love yields to business. If you seek a way out of love, be busy. You'll be safe then. Isn't that the truth? You know, if y'all are ever going through a breakup or y'all don't want to date and y'all want to stay busy, work real hard. Find a hobby. Find a job that demands a lot of your time. We cut back to Idana. Let's get into Idana. What the fuck is her deal? Okay, because right now all we know is like she's just a really pretty lady that like keeps talking through a mirror. Idana wanted to fling the basin across the meadow. When she had tried the mirror basin before, she'd seen nothing and had known relief. But now she looked into the basin twice and had seen that woman. This was no accident, not a trick. The woman was there in Derek's house, and she possessed a mirror of some power. And while Idana had done her best to frighten the woman away, she couldn't be sure that the woman would accept her warnings. She bent over the waters once more. "Servant, is my true love's heart still mine to be claimed?" The waters muddied and swirled as if it agitated by an unseen hand. "It is not so," the watery spirit replied. Idana's heart contracted. "Derek loved another? Her Derek? It cannot be," she said. She spoke over the waters once more. "My love has taken no other to wife?" The water smoothed and rippled. "It isn't so, mistress." "Ah," Idana sighed with relief. Still, the woman was there. She was not wedded to Derek. She might merely be some whore. Or perhaps she belonged to one of those other clan members. She shook her head. Possible, but not likely. All this time she had been watching the McStrowns. Her basin had never shown her anyone but Derek or one of his men who was in close proximity to him. Whoever she was, this woman was near to him. Was she also dear to him? Idana looked in the waters. The visions had disappeared, and the water was returning to its original state. She smiled at the reflection of her own face floating there. At least the woman wasn't more beautiful than she. Or she did have to find out who was coming between her and her love, however. And then she'd just get rid of her. Whistling cheerfully, Idana carried the basin over to the window and dumped the water into the shrubbery below. A cat yowled out in the outrage from the darkness below. Idana laughed. "Silly old Malkin," she called out. "Serves you right for lying in wait for some hapless Tom." So Derek has this is so random, but like this is kind of like the daily routine, like chapters of like day in the life of a Scottish clan. And Derek has this really big dog called Big Dog. Big old mastiff, I don't fucking know. Big drooly dog, and he calls it Big Dog. Well, guess what shows up in the kitchen? A little cat. And of course, Julia is like, "Oh, this will be great for keeping rats out." And all the guys are like, "Derek does not fuck with cats. Do not keep that cat in this kitchen. And Big Dog will eat it." And she's like, "No, he won't." And so we kind of have this cute little moment of this little kitten. So they tell her, "Don't feed it and it'll go hunt rats." And she's like, "Okay." And she feels kind of bad, but she locks it in the pantry and it kills like 2 rats. And she's just like, "Great. It's well fed. It's doing its job. Welcome home, little cat." And much like little cat, however, she kind of has this moment of like, well, this cat has a job and is kind of welcomed, but kind of not. And she was like, "I feel like this cat, where it's like we have jobs and we're technically a part of this clan. Like we work for them, but we're not part of the clan because Derek doesn't like cats and he don't like me." Now, y'all, this little Alistar, Derek's little brother, he a mess. Yeah, Alistar, he a little troublemaker. He's a flirty guy. And we have like, he comes in the kitchen while Julia's cooking. And like, I don't know, like, okay, I'll just read it. She jumped as someone cleared his throat behind her. She whirled around to see Alistar standing in the kitchen doorway, hands on his hips, looking about the room in wonder. "Well, well," he drawled. "This place shows a loving hand." She felt herself color with pride. "Do you like it?" He came towards the ovens, sniffing appreciatively. "If it's ever been any cleaner, I cannot recall the occasion." "Oh, surely when your mother was here," she halted. "Oh, perhaps you'd rather not speak about her." "Why not?" Alistar stuck his finger in the pot of the sauce she was stirring. She slapped his hand. "Stay out of that. You want to get them all sick again?" She stirred more vigorously. "I only meant that with your mother gone and all, you might not want to talk about her." Real quick, Derek has mentioned in the past, because when Julia mentioned that her mirror was from her dead mother, he's like, "Oh, my mom's not around either." So there's that backstory. "Oh, I suppose. Still, she was never much of a hearth dweller. You're the one who's made this old dungeon sparkle." "Thank you." She took a fresh spoon and dipped it into the sauce. She lifted the brown liquid up for him to taste. Here, taste this and tell me what you think. He opened his mouth and let her spoon it into him. Both of them laughing as some dripped down his chin. She wiped it off with a fingertip. Taking up cooking, Ogonak. They both whirled around to see Derek staring in the doorway. His expression was carefully bland, but Julia saw a spark of anger dance briefly in his eyes. Alistar backed away from her, but she held her ground. She put a hand on her hip. Do all of you mixed rounds have to come and go like ghosts? She demanded. I had a spoonful of hot sauce in my hand. We both could have been burned. Derek stepped into the room, his eyes moving quickly from her to Alistar and back again. Oh, we'd not want to have anyone overheating. He is so jealous. Oh my God. I hate that shit when men do that. It's just like, well, I don't want her. And so Alistar's like, okay, well, I'll go flirt with her. I like Julia. She cooks. She cleans. Let me tell you how I got that ring. And Derek's just like, well, no, you can't have her. Like, there are just two brothers fighting over a toy. It's ridiculous. And of course, Derek and Julia fight. They're always bickering in these novels. I mean, most of these novels are like enemies to lovers. There's always bickering. But it's never like too bad, where it's like, okay, this is not bickering. This is like actual fighting. They are bickering. And he came to stand before her. His eyes searched hers. You don't know me as well as you think, he said, his voice low and tense. She wanted to back away from him, but the oven was behind her. She raised her chin. If I don't, it's no fault of mine, she said. Would you have me as a teacher? She was suddenly warmer than even the heat of the oven warranted. His voice had changed somehow. His tone was still challenging, dangerous. But she wasn't sure where the danger lay or what he was challenging her to do. The man was maddening. I don't need a teacher, she said. No? No. He raised his hand. For an instant, she thought he was about to strike her. Instead, he caught one of the curls that had escaped her braid and tucked it behind her ear. She almost jerked away from him with the shock of such a tender, intimate gesture, the sensation of his fingers touching the sensitive flesh of her ear. He lowered his mouth to hers and kissed her slowly, deliberately, completely. Leave Alistar to me, he said, lifting his head and setting her away from him. I know what's best for my own brother. He turned and left the kitchen. Julia turned back to her vegetables, her insides still trembling from their brief encounter. And she says the word Cuttock, Cuthack, Cuttock. Anyways, she says that, muttered to herself. She stiffened and gasped. Little Cat gave a sniff from the hearth. Julia looked at her in wonder. Now, where did that word come from? She asked, her chopping knife mid-stroke. She shook her head to clear away the confusion. The word means madness, she said softly, but how could I possibly know that? Little Cat licked her chops, yawned, and curled back in the comfortable ball behind the wood stack. Julia went back to work, trying hard to forget the eerie sensation of that unbidden word. So how did she know this old Scottish word? Like, throughout the book, she starts slipping into like a Scottish accent and like knowing old Scottish words. And it's kind of like, why do you know those words? Julia goes with the guys as they go build a house for Tommy. And the whole time they're literally building a house, Tommy's like, I think you and Derek make a great match because y'all make great leaders and we would love to, he's like, I'm so excited for y'all to be like a leader together. And she's just like, we're not like, no, that's not a thing. And he's like, oh, I thought it was obvious. And he's like, okay, so you and Alistar then. And, she's like, no, not Alistar either. And Alistar kind of talks about him and Derek back when they were young bachelors in like Edinburgh and they were full of hope. And he's like, not so much anymore. And I like this moment she has with Alistar because he's talking about how they were young and they were full of hope. But then like, war happens and you lose loved ones and it just really kind of puts a damper on. I mean, because back then, y'all, you have to remember, like, you could lose a wife to childbirth. You could lose a husband to war. I mean, you can today, don't get me wrong. But back then, it was just Ooh, the gamble. But her and Alistar are kind of having a tender moment, not romantically. But she says, she had to grin. You're a loyal brother, Alistar. I should hope so. Derek's a right pain in the ass after enough. But we share blood. It must be nice to be so sure of your family. Sometimes it's all there is between ye and the wolves. She gazed at the floor, suddenly feeling more foreign than ever in this foreign place. Would you consider me a wolf? And I love that. That's such a good line. Such a good line. I sometimes just love just good writing. That's such a good line. And I ruin it by sitting here going, that's a good line. No shit. Shut up, Montana. So her and Alistar are in the kitchen chit-chatting, and obviously, or no, they're not in the kitchen. Her and Alistar are talking and having this cute intimate moment, just as family at this point. And of course, Derek is barreling down a hill, eyes blazing, stop fucking talking to her. He's so jealous. Last of the stones, he said to Alistar. That is, if ye can spare a moment. At your service, my liege, Alistar drawled and sauntered off. Tommy's in the kitchen. No doubt the water's heated by this time. The men are hungry. She gave him a radiant smile. All right, she said, mimicking Alistar's saunter. My lord. He caught her arm. If I were indeed your lord, you'd know it. She gazed up at him, still smiling. Is that the fatal charm that won the ladies' hearts in Edinburgh? What's my brother been telling you? Enough to know that you're not as rough and tough as you pretend to be. He pulled her closer. You think not? His tone was low and distinctly threatening. She swallowed hard, but kept her smile. I think you're a fake. That's what I think. You talk tough, but inside you're a bowl of mush. You act like you don't care about anyone or anything, but you're as susceptible to love as the next man. And you think I was in love with the ladies at court? She nodded. His eyes had grown so dark and wild, she could almost feel the intensity of his feelings rolling off of him. He jerked her quickly into his arms, pining her against the rough wool of his plaid. Without another warning, he bent his head and kissed her. Julia felt as if she were being dipped into flames. The rough magic of his lips heated and tormented her, rousing a sudden fever that seemed to originate in the marrow of her bones. His hands slid down her back, pressing her against him, allowing her to feel his strength and power, his own heat. The kiss went on and on, teasing, tempting, drawing a soft moan from deep in her throat. She felt as if her legs would no longer hold her. And as suddenly as the embrace had begun, he ended it. He set her away from him and looked at her with a cool smile. Was that love, Julia? He asked, his voice rumbling from deep in his chest. Two bodies banging against one another. Is that what passes for love where you come from? He turned abruptly and was gone. You son of a bitch. Oh, I'm so sorry, Janora. I scared my dog. I'm sorry. You son of a bitch. Again, she's right, though. You are not some rough and tough. You are a minx. You are not some big bear. You are a fox. You are a sly little fox that keeps messing with me as I'm reading this book. Oh my God. That scene of him just being like, is that love? He just grabs her, kisses her hard and long, and then she's pulled away what? And he's like, was that love, Julia? Is that what passes for love? Two bodies banging against one another? And he just leaves? I would kill this man. The sexual frustration, I would kill him. I don't know how some people in these books handle the sexual frustration. I'm just I don't know how y'all are doing it. We learn kind of more backstory of the McStrowns and the Morrisons, and it's political drama. And I'll just try to recap it by saying the McStrowns, their clan got bigger because they were absorbing other clans and they were taking them over. Very Genghis Khan. And so they were getting bigger. And the Morrisons, Derek's clan, they're like the only one that's not taken over, and they're very small and they're very susceptible to being taken over, and they're just trying to, you know, very Braveheart, like it's just them against like a very big army, and you're like, fuck, and they do it. And also the Morrisons kind of have a personal problem with Derek and them, because Craig Morrison, their clan leader, loved some girl when they were all young and hip popping in Edinburgh. Craig liked this one girl, I think her name is Caroline, and she liked Derek, and he kind of like fucked with her and then like left her on red, and she still didn't want Craig, because he was like, well, I'll still take her, and she still didn't want Craig, and he was like, Derek, it's your fault. And it's like, no, it's because you're a fucking nerd. Like, I couldn't help but wonder in this day and time, like, Craig is Elon Musk, and he's got a crush on some girl. And obviously, like, I don't know why I was picturing Elon Musk, but the whole time this like book was like, and like Craig was talking, I'm like, ew, he just sounds like such a fucking loser. He sounds like Elon Musk. Like, he's got all this money, he's got all this clan, he's got this huge business, he's taken over, and he's still not fucking happy because no one thinks he's hot and no one laughs at his jokes. We're all gonna die because no one laughs at these losers' jokes. It's true. Tale as old as time. How many people are wiped out because fucking men get their feelings hurt? But anyways, that's essentially what happened. Like, he killed Derek's wife, or about to be wife, his bride, because he was like, Caroline never called me back because she liked you. And it's like, that's not Derek's problem. Anyways, Julia is outside, frustrated in many ways, and she is talking to one of the guys. I forget who it was. I know Derek's made it pretty clear what he thinks of Outlanders like me. Has he? Yes, clan comes first, last, and in between with him. You mustn't taken it too hard, wee Julia. It's just our way. I know. Never mind. She got up, brushing off her skirt. I'm beginning to know what Harrison Ford must have felt like. Who's that? His face was a cheerful blank. Oh, you wouldn't know. How can I explain this? Okay. Harrison Ford was in this movie Witness, where he gets wounded in a murder investigation, and he runs to this farm with this like beautiful Amish woman. She knelt down and began to weed the shallots. He lived with them, worked with them, ate with them, slept in their beds, even wore their clothes. But anytime he tried to get close to one of them or question their way of life, they tell him he couldn't understand because he was an outsider. That's how I feel. You believe we're Amish? She grinned. No. He gave her another puzzled smile. Are you running from a murder, wee Julia? And that I have been vocal stemming for like 3 weeks. Are you running from a murder, wee Julia? I think that's so funny. Because guess what she does, guys, after this? Because remember, she was walking with one guy and she was talking about Chariots of Fire. And then she's telling him about the plot to Witness. And all these guys are like, you have the craziest stories. And so then she comes into this like job of, she recaps movies every evening to these guys. She tells them like Beetlejuice. She tells them Chariots of Fire. She tells them, kind of like I do on the Patreon, which this is a Patreon plug. On the Patreon, I have 3 levels. And I think the most expensive is $7. But every week you would get content, because this is the first week. You get novel. And then on the Patreon, you get steamy scenes, where we go over the steamy scenes of said novel or past novels for $3. And then for $5, you get steamy scenes and you get a movie recap that correlates with this book, of which we will need to vote on which movie we want to do for this, because I have a few options. And then for $7, you get steamy scenes, you get a movie recap, and you also get Sunday Stories, where we discuss an article out of some magazine that I find interesting. Last week we did like this AI article, and we talked about AI and how it relates to like 18th century Luddites. It was a fascinating article. We had a great time with it. For $7, you get to have me every week on Patreon. So there's that plug. I'm still learning how to do this, y'all. Like, it's actually really hard to know how to like do Patreons and promote yourself, because I feel like such an asshat. But anyways, $7, $5, $3. I don't give a fuck. We have a good time on the Patreon. Anyways, back to the story. She recaps movies. Okay. To the guys, they fucking love it. They're like, you are so creative, girl. Craig Morrison, Elon Musk, Scottish Elon Musk, has requested the Earl redraw the boundary lines. He's trying to legally squish out this clan. He's like, okay, I can't do war because, like, obviously war's hard and, like, that's, like, I might lose guys. And he's like, I'll just legally keep making the boundary lines smaller and smaller. That way they have to hunt on my land and I get to arrest them. Like, he's trying to legally, like, fuck them. And so Derek has to leave to go to the city to go handle that, obviously. And as Derek is like, Derek is like, I have to leave. I've got to go handle clan stuff. And Julia, he thinks is like, he's kind of like flirting with her. And he's just like, I have to go, I'll be gone for like 3 weeks maybe. And Julia's like, is Alistar going with you? He gets fucking pissed. He's like, no, he's not going with me. Why would you ask? Aren't you going to miss me? He is fucking pissed. He's so jealous of his brother. And it's his fault because he's like being such a dick to Julia. Obviously, him and Julia are having the world's most awkward goodbye as he's like loading up his horse. Well, he turned from his horse. Alistar stood nearby making his last preparations. Yeah, well, you'd better get started. She smiled, feeling as if her mouth were being worked by thick rubber bands. You should. Well, Julia, we're off. Alistar swept around from behind her and grabbed her up in his embrace. And what would it cost a man to get a wee kiss for the road? He asked, his smile flashing. Put me down, you idiot. She punched him on the shoulder playfully. She couldn't help smiling back at him. At least someone was glad about his journey. Alistar put her down, but not before he planted a loud smacking kiss on her cheek. There, he said cheerily. He swung her around to face Derek. She's a yours, big brother. Derek's face was darker than rain clouds over their heads. Julia cringed inwardly. She would have kissed him willingly if he'd asked. But this way, Derek snatched her to him. His mouth was upon hers, cool and wet with the rain running down his face. She wanted to beg him to stop, and she wanted him to go on, kissing her for days on end. She pulled away, the impulse to stop winning. She pulled away, the impulse to stop winning out. She didn't want to be kissed because of some unspoken dare between Derek and his brother. She wanted Derek to want her for herself alone. He let her go, and she stepped back, her hand clutching at the collar of her gown. Alistar gave a long, low whistle and mounted up. He raised his hand to her and smiled. She could only stare at him, surprise and hurt rendering her silent. His smile faded, replaced with a look of sincere contrition. He waved again and moved off, heading towards the northern mists. Derek swung up on his horse. Keep well, Julia, he said softly. I will. She could scarcely squeeze the words out around the lump in her throat. He gave her a nod, and then he too rode away, the mist swallowing him up in a matter of moments. Julia stood gazing at the spot where his big form had disappeared, the rain sliding over her cheeks and into the corners of her mouth. It was odd, she thought. Somehow the rain tasted salty. He can't keep doing this to her, y'all. He can't keep doing this. I am livid. Stop it. Stop it. He can't keep kissing her and fucking leaving. Oh. I would have gone for Alistar. He's more my type. I like a goofy, lighthearted guy. I don't like the big, grumpy guys. I don't have the energy to deal with the fucking, no. I don't like that. I like the big, goofy dog guys. I would have been for Alistar. I would have been like, this is too much. I'm not here to unravel your emotional constipation. That you're a grown man, not my fucking problem. Oh my God. He keeps fucking with her. Obviously, the next chapter is they are both pining for each other. Very SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs, greasy spoon. They're in their separate locations, staring out of windows, pining for each other. And Derek, while he's with Alistar in the city, he's like, I'm going to free her. When we get back, Julia will be freed. She will no longer be a prisoner. While at the camp, Julia has the guys doing yoga, which a part of me was kind of like, that would really fuck up the timeline in history. Like, girl, you got to be careful. That butterfly effect, you're teaching Scottish Highlanders yoga. I feel like that's going to affect like a ripple effect for sure. But anyways, they're all doing yoga. They go on a fishing trip and she's nearly kidnapped. She goes and she sees this guy that's hurt, and her dumb ass. She's from she lived in New York for a little bit. You think she would have more wits about her, but she sees this guy hurt and she's like, "Oh my God, let me help you." And he's like, "Oh," again, hey ladies, no grown man ever needs your help, ever. Don't be Ted Bundying this shit. All right, go get help from another man. Like, I don't know what to do, but don't ever go towards some man that's like, "Oh my God, my leg, please help me." Be like, "I will get you help, sir. There is nothing I can do." Don't do that shit. But Julia does that shit. And she goes down there, and fucking course, he puts a cord around her neck and tries to like choke her out. But she does self-defense and like kicks him in the balls, and like she nearly like breaks a bone or something. I think she does break a bone. Obviously, there's no trace of this man. She runs back to the guys. Like, they hear obviously a scuffle, and she's like, "There was a man and he was going to choke me." And all they can find is the cord. And they're like, "Okay, so we believe you, but there's no trace of a man here. So now what?" The men go and have a meeting of, "Hey, this doesn't look too good on us. If the one woman in our clan is nearly killed. There's 7 of us and we can't protect one girl. Really? Get it together, guys." We cut to Idana. She kind of reminds me of, I'm a big K-pop fan. And if you follow my Instagram, I'm sure you're sick of me promoting Plave. But it's my hyperfixation, y'all. Okay. Leave me alone. It's been that way for a few years. If y'all are tired of it, imagine how my family feels. But that being said, she reminds me of K-pop boys because she's just like sitting there constantly just like plotting and oohing and awing over these Scottish guys. And I'm just like, I feel you, girl. However, I'm not as crazy as her. And we learn her backstory. So she's from London. And she was kind of in the midst of that Derek, Caroline, Cragen love triangle. Like, oh my God, y'all, if I need to get a dry erase board for this channel so we can write some stuff out, because it's like Cragen liked Caroline. Caroline liked Derek. Derek fucked Caroline, kind of left her on red. She still didn't like Cragen as a rebound. Idana likes Derek, but Derek don't like her. And so her and Cragen are teaming together because Cragen's like, "Well, you can have Derek if you destroy his clan for me." I don't know. And then no, Idana, I don't know. Her and Cragen have a weird thing because like Idana is like, "I'll help you destroy his clan if I can have him." And Cragen's like, "I don't give a fuck what you do with him." But, you know, her, and then she also has him a bride. She's like, "I'll get you a bride, Cragen." And here we have this. If you hear my cat meowing, I am so sorry. But y'all know cats. They're just going to do whatever they want. They don't listen. Tulip, hush. Ugh. Anyways, they entered into a pact. Cragen would keep Idana in his household, providing for her every need. In return, she would aid him in becoming the richest, most powerful lord in all of the Central Highlands. She had also sought out a young woman whom he could take to wife, a girl so lovely that Cragen kept her locked in the tower under Idana's watchful eye, until Idana determined that it was time for the marriage and its consummation. She had seen to it that the girl was legally named as Cragen's heir, promising that the wench would give him many strong sons and quickly too. And if perchance something would happen to Cragen, well, Idana would be close at hand to aid the grieving young widow in managing her affairs. close at hand with Derek on her arm. "And now that I've rid myself of that silly little drab of Derek's," Edana purred, "I'm ready to complete my plan." She rose and stretched her arms to the sky. How good it was to be on firm footing again. How good to know that soon she would have her love and her revenge. I completely forgot to mention that obviously she sent the guy to try to kill Julia. Duh. She sent a henchman to go kill Julia. And when she asked the magic mirror, "Hey, is the job done?" he kind of like fucked her and was like, "Yeah, the job's done." But it was very like the way it's worded. Let me see. I forget how he worded it, but he really, like, that mirror kind of fucked her on it. "Oh, servant, is my love safe from the clutches of that woman?" "He is far from her reach," sighed the water. So she, again, these old-timey books and stuff, y'all got to cut to the chase. We can't be doing this flower language of like, is he safe and far from his love? And it's like, well, yeah, he's technically far because he's in Edinburgh. So I'm not lying when I'm like, and this petty-ass mirror is probably bored out of his mind. So he's like, fuck it. I'll fuck with her. I got nothing better to do. Derek returns. Everybody's goofing off and having a fun time. They're all doing yoga. They're all talking about Harrison Ford movies and Star Wars. And he's like, and Big Dog is like playing with Little Cat. And he's like, "What the fuck? I leave for 3 weeks and this is what the clan's doing? There's a cat? Y'all are doing yoga? Is no one doing anything?" Heavy is the crown. Because like he can't have fun. Because he's the leader. And so he's like, ah. It's like being a mom. Like moms can never have fun. We're always seen as like the hard parent because we're always like having to crack a whip on the kids. Again, Derek, he's just much like these novels. Like they're always back and forth of like, it's not enemies to lovers. It's like real enemies to lovers. Like more drastic. Are you saying what I think you're saying? You tell me. You think I tricked you into taking me in? You think I'm using my sex as a tool to get you to help me? Is that what you think? She grabbed at the laces of her gown. "Who captured who?" she demanded as she hauled the dress off of her head. "Who locked me up in that little hole of a room down under the stairs?" She tossed the dress at the table. Big Dog gave a whine from his spot at Derek's feet. "Who found you all having salmonella bake-off and took over the cooking and cleaning around here?" She ripped the undergown next and stood before him stark naked except for her shoes. "As for kissing your brother, he kissed me exactly once and on the cheek. Whereas you big cement-headed troll, have gone far beyond a peck on the cheek. And furthermore, I'd like to see any one of you big lunkheads try to fit into that," she yelled, flinging the undergown at his head. She stomped out of the room and up at the stairs, taking little pleasure in Derek's amazed and appreciative stare. She heard a groan and crash of pottery on stone as she hurled herself into her room and slammed the door. Muttering to herself, she snapped her still damp underlings off the clothesline she'd rigged up and pulled them on. She'd manage, he said. "All right, she'll show him who can manage." "Excuse me for living, McStrown," she yelled. So obviously he came at her with that goddamn witch bullshit. And like, she's a prisoner. It like, he just keeps waxing and waning on her. And so she just gets stark naked. And she's like, "Fuck this shit." And obviously he's standing there like, Julia finds a book about charms. And she asks Alistar to help her. Because she's like, "Look, I'm not a witch. I swear to God, I'm not a witch." And he believes her. He's like, "But doesn't look super good if you're learning how to make charms, Julia." He's like, "How am I supposed to defend you when my brother is going to see this and be like, what the fuck?" And she's like, "Alistar, there's literally a witch after me, I think, coming through my mirror. I need to know how to handle this, okay?" She's like, "I'm very unequipped. A man tried to murder me. I think a witch is after me. Please help." And I know y'all are going to roll your eyes. Obviously, Derek sees her and Alistar fucking kikiing in the library and he's pissed. I swear to God. To the audio listener, I know y'all are frustrated. I'm frustrated too. I'm not frustrated with the book. It's just the behaviors in this goddamn book. You're just like wanting to scream. Alistar is a friend. He was helping me read some of these books. My Latin isn't good. A lass like you doesn't need Latin. She hung on to her temper. Perhaps not, but I think you'd have the good sense to know that even a man like you needs only his brother. She brushed past him. He caught her wrist. Don't go yet. She glared up at him. Why shouldn't I? If you're looking for trouble, you don't have to go looking in my family books. She smiled. I'm not looking for trouble. I'm looking for a way home. What does that mean? She shook her head. I didn't expect you to understand. Let me go. I've got to go see about dinner. He pulled her closer. She was held close to his side, looking up to those angry eyes that almost seemed to speak of something else, something she didn't want to name. I'm no man to be trifled with. And I'm not trifling with you or anyone else. I'm just trying to find a way home. What does that mean? You figure it out. Ye take a chance, lass. Ye take chances, lass. I have to. He tightened his hold on her, slipping his arm around her waist. I won't have you messing with my baby brother. He's not a baby. Nay, he's not. He's as headstrong as stubborn as you are. Is that why you try to bully the both of us? His mouth was mere inches from hers, his eyes boring into hers. Is that what I am, Julia? He asked, his voice suddenly soft and much, much more dangerous. A bully. Ooh. I hate how I ruin these intimate scenes with but it's true. Julia's had it, much like me with my cat right now. And she's like, I'm leaving tonight. She's leaving. She's done. I don't know. She don't know where she's going to go, but she's like, I can't do this anymore. This is killing me. The men collectively are like, okay, hey, Derek, so while you were gone, Julia was kind of attacked. And Derek's like, what? And they're like, okay, so I know what you're saying. There's 7 of us and she still managed to get choked. But we were fishing and ooh. Obviously, Derek goes to check. He's like, no one told me she was nearly choked. What are you talking about? So he goes upstairs, can't find her because she's gone. And Alistar is pissed. He's like, I swear to God, Derek, if you put a fucking finger on Julia. And Derek's like, again, brothers fighting over this girl. They're both about to kill each other because they think the other hurt her. Meanwhile, Julia is having a Belle moment, Beauty and the Beast. She's out in the woods and she hears sniffing and she thinks that, stop, Tulip. Oh my God, this cat. Ugh. She thinks that Big Dog followed her because she hears some sniffing and a big thing. And she's like, Big Dog, come here. Come here. I've got a snack for you. Not Big Dog, but it is a big dog. It's a wolf. It's a huge Scottish Game of Thrones fucking dire wolf. Oh my God. The worst time to go, pss, 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 come here. And it's this big wolf shows up and you're like, ooh, what's the opposite of Obviously, Derek is on his horse riding. Imagine this is a movie and we're having her being cornered by this dire wolf. And Derek is on his horse, pissed. And the whole time he's actually really upset because he thinks that Julia likes Alistar. And he's like, Alistar is more refined than I look. He is more lean. He has a better facial. He just looks more elegant. And he's like, I'm just this big, rough, hairy monster of a man. And I'm mean. And she thinks I'm a bully. And he's kind of he's kind of having his I like Julia moment on his horse. Because now her life, he's like, I don't know where she is. She could be her life could be threatened right now. And I like Julia, love Julia, you know, and it's just really sweet because he's like this big gruff guy and he's having like this little crying moment, like riding his horse. Like imagine this big guy, Merida's dad, whatever, riding on this big horse, like wiping away tears because he's just like, she fucking doesn't like me. Who would? I'm mean. I'm a bully. I'm ugly. I'm a big ogre. She calls me an ogre. Her and Alistar are always fucking flirting. Like, fuck. And it's kind of sweet. It's horrible to be him in that situation, but it's kind of sweet. Obviously, he hears a scream. And it reminds me of Hades. Remember when Persephone screamed in dazzling brightness and he separated a mountain? That was a great scene. He obviously is like, Julia. And he like changes direction and gallops towards the scream. Big Dog is also with him. Big Dog attacks a dire wolf and Derek kills it. I know, I'm like really ruining the scene, but like obviously that happens. Duh. It's very Beauty and the Beast moment for all of us girls that our romanticy memories were shaped by that scene of the Beast coming and rescuing Belle from all those wolves. It's very that. That's kind of how this book reads, honestly, is very Beauty and the Beast coded. Very Beauty and the Beast coded. Now that I'm saying it out loud, yep. That's what this is. This is fanfic for Beauty and the Beast. Anyways, Derek, she flung into his arms, shaking and sobbing. Are you okay? His arms closed about her for a moment, holding her tight against his chest, which still heaved with the effort of the battle. She raised her head to look at him, and he kissed her, roughly and thoroughly. When he lifted his head, she said, Derek, I thought... He thrust her out at arm's length. What the devil were you trying to do? He cried. Have you porridge where your wits should be? What? She was shocked at his sudden turn from tenderness to rage. You could have been killed. I could have been killed. Big Dog could have been killed. Obviously, she runs to Big Dog. She's like, oh my God, you're right. And she pours liquor. He has liquor on him. She pours liquor on the wound to disinfect it. And they both heal Big Dog together. And again, it's kind of like the calf moment. He's just like, wow, she's real good in a pinch with animals. Obviously, okay, take a drink. They fight. They fight again. Oh God, they're hot-headed. If your thing is like bickering, this is the book for you. But as they're fighting, she develops a Scottish accent. Again, it's starting to slip out. Like she's getting like this, it's coming all to her. And you're just kind of like, why is she sounding like that? Anyways, they're fighting. The hell you don't. You're the champion of I'd better do it myself or it won't get done right. I've watched you snatch responsibility right out of your own brother's hands. You can't let go of your control over him and anything else that has to do with the clan. You would take his part? I would. She was startled by the burr in her accent, but she was too angry to stop and contemplate the ramifications. Alistar is a good friend of mine and he doesn't think that I'm a porridge-brain ninny. I never said you were a ninny. You said I had porridge for brain not 15 minutes ago. Oh, aye, so I did. But you scared me so bad, lass. I thought you were going to be killed. Oh, right, so you rode in to rescue me now that you think you own me. If you aren't the damnedest, most confounding little... He lunged forward and grabbed her by the arms. Listen to me, Julia. I'm not going to apologize for wanting to have you alive and you here with me. With that, he crushed her to him once more and kissed her. It was as if her whole world were melting away and being remade. Her feelings for Derek ran so deep and so strong that they frightened her. She wanted him with such complete passion that she longed for a way to burrow inside of him and take root. That's a weird way of saying it. As they leave, she gets on his horse. As they are leaving, she spots a woman in the woods, which is wild. And terrifying. If I saw a woman in the woods, I'd be like, what the fuck? Do you think it's Idana? Because it could be someone else. It could be someone else. Let's read on. They meet with the guys who were hunting and they don't go back to the village. They go to a very high mountaintop. Very high mountaintop. And they have to blindfold Julia because she can't really know it's this very secret location. Before they get to the mountaintop, however, there's a small scene that I found really cute. Again, the dialogue in this book is fantastic. And they are all going to take a bath. Obviously, Julia is not going to go with them. She says, "No, thank you. I've never been one for group bathing." He shrugged and began to undo his belts and plaid. He was down to his long shirt alone when he looked up and saw her gazing at him, wide-eyed. He chuckled and shook a finger at her. "A more modest maid would look away," he scolded. "I'm not a maid," she said tartly, coming to her senses. "Go off and have your bath, ogre. I won't assault your virtue." "Dumb the luck," he said sorrowfully. Again, it's like these little micro moments of him just being a little goddamn minx. Like, he's a very complex character. You cannot, because I know I said he's a beast and he's very ogre-like, but he has just as flirtatious little things as Alistar. Like, obviously, Alistar learned from somebody. Idana is pissed. That's all you need to know about that chapter. Y'all, Idana's pissed. Because Derek and this girl... As they were wrapping up their bath, this line came. Derek untied his horse and boosted her up as the first of his men answered his summons. "It's about time," he said to Neil and Liam with a grin. "Were you waiting for some lily-scented soap to come floating down the burn?" "Nah," said Neil, tucking his shirt securely into his plaid. "I was waiting to see if the midges would come carry off our Liam here." Liam slapped one of the monstrous insects. "I've studied and I cannot find a single reason why they would prefer me to the likes of him," he said, jerking his head toward Neil. And again, it's just kind of cute banter. If he's getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, I feel that. Of which you're bathing in a river. What do you expect? Back to, they go up way, way, way up this mountain. Way, way, way up this mountain. And this cave is full of women and children. Their clan is not a clan of just dudes. All the women and children are put safely away on a mountaintop so they don't get murdered constantly. And guess who is up there leading this clan of women and children? Derek and Alistar's mom. She's not dead. Remember, he kind of did what the mirror did, and he was like, "Yeah, my mom's not here either." He meant literally. His mom's alive, and she's up there. And y'all want to talk about hard to read. It is written very phonetic old Scottish. I had to read it out loud, like that Mad Libs game or whatever it was called, where it's like you have to read it real fast, really loud to get what it's saying. Yeah. And Julia meets the women and obviously Derek and Alistar's mom. And she kind of goes over the Isabel thing of Isabel was literally dropped off dead at like Derek's feet. And yeah, he is a real rough and gruff kind of guy because his dad was murdered by the Morrisons, his bride. Derek's had a rough time. So Julia talking to Derek's mom kind of has a little sympathy for him. And Julia's kind of like, well, no wonder he hates the Morrisons more than life itself. And it consumes him. They are all hanging out in this cave. The guys come up to the cave once a month to check in on their kids and wives. It's weird, but I get it. We have this cute moment. They're all like, after like Kiki, like, okay, after everybody's like been having fun and playing with their kids, obviously all the husbands and wives kind of sneak off to corners of the cave, which sounds wild, but I guess you got to do what you got to do and mind your own business. And obviously Julia is sitting at this fire by herself. Like, Derek's mom is old, so she went to bed way before this. She knew it was going to go down. And so Julia's kind of sitting at this fire like, well. And Derek comes and sits next to her and he brings her a cup of mead. "What do you think of the rest of the folk?" "I think they're wonderful," she said sincerely. "You're very lucky." "Aye, that I am." He gave her a wide grin. "What did my mother have to say to ye? I saw you over there with your heads together." I don't know if I should tell you." She suddenly felt mischievous. "You might get angry." "I wouldn't doubt it," he drawled. "The pair of ye have given me more grief in my life than all my men combined." She gave him a playful push. "Oh, poor Derek, how he suffers." He edged close to her, his voice lowering to that warm, deep rumble that always seemed to melt her bones. "I do suffer, Julia." "You do?" She peered at him over the rim of her cup, hardly daring to think what his intimate tone implied. "I suffer from want. of peace. He laughed at her surprise, then went on in a teasing velvety tone. You could help me find it, wee Julia. He is a dick. Like, again, he's such a complex character. Of you think that he's going to be like the Beast and like this rough and tough guy. But he's actually really fucking funny. Obviously, the cave is super awkward for them because everybody is moaning and groaning in corners. And you're just like, let's leave this cave of sex, please. So they go outside and they are stargazing. Because if you can imagine an unpolluted, beautiful sky, you know, if that's one of the things, if I could time travel, I would love to see the stars as our ancestors saw them, just completely unpolluted, and the moon and everything. And I know you can do that now. You just have to go literally to the ends of Earth. But that's what they do. And they look at the stars and it's very romantic. They are fighting over because they need to go back to the village. And Julia's like, well, I'll just stay here with the girls, obviously. And he's like, no, you'll come back with me. And she's like, well, why? Why can't I stay with the girls? And he's like, because I have to keep an eye on you. And then they fight, obviously, because of that bullshit. Of course not. She crossed her arms. All right, then, if it's so treacherous down below, I'm staying up here with the women. You will not. Why not? You're coming back down with me and the men. Why should I? You've made it clear you don't want me around. You insult me at least half the time. You lock me in my room whenever you feel like it. Why don't you just leave me up here so I don't aggravate you anymore? Damn it, Julia. I don't want you to go away. Before she could reply, he yanked her to him and enfolded her in his embrace. He smothered her with words with a kiss that seemed as much anguished as angry. Even as she responded in kind, she braced herself for his rejection, for him to set her away from him as he had done the other times he kissed her. But his kiss went on, and when at last he raised his lips from hers, it was only to repeat her name over and over as he showered her with more kisses over her cheeks, her forehead, her eyes. The hunger within her heart rose up and urged her to respond. She'd been storing up all her feelings inside for weeks. She knew it was too late now to halt their expression. She lifted her arms and twined them about his neck, murmuring yes into his ear. Yes. He swept her up then, and with her arms still tight around him, he carried her down to the rocky little path and across the brook to a darkened grove beneath the stars. He set her down in a center of a ring of fragrant pines, his hands on her waist. Julia, And y'all will have to go to the Patreon. This sex scene, I am, but I'm not. Like, I want y'all to hear it for $3. And it's one sex scene in this book. But my God, the sexual frustration. This man, I'm going to read it to y'all on the Patreon, but he edges her. Oh my God. I don't know how she handled it. I myself was so frustrated reading it in a good way, like a fun sexual frustration way of just like, girl, if you don't just jump on this man, oh my God, he is killing me. He's killing me. He's killing her. Like, he edges her for like 2 pages, and it is written like, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. So you will go on the Patreon and we will be edged together. Obviously, while they are stargazing under the moonlight, Alistar turned from the sight of the couple standing in the center of the grove. His stomach roiled with anger and frustration. Julia made her choice, and Derek had staked his claim, he thought. Once again, he was second best, the younger brother, the second in command. He'd had enough. He couldn't stand around here and see Derek and Julia in the morning, both of them wrapped in the afterglow, exchanging glances and touches and intimate words. He'd had enough of that already, watching the rest of the clan unite. He'd head back to the cave, grab up his pack, and was off while the rest of the world enjoyed the pleasures of their beds. Poor little Alistar. He's left out. That's sad. I like him. The next day, as Alistar predicted, Derek and Julia are having a cute little time. They're in no rush to get back. They're playing, they're bickering as they do. We go back to Alistar walking through the woods, and he kind of realizes he's not jealous. He's envious. He doesn't love Julia like Derek does. He loves her in a playful sister kind of way. But he wants what they have. He's like, I want to fall in love. You know, it's kind of that thing of like, everybody's dating. When you're single, everybody's in a relationship. And then when you're in a relationship, everybody's single. And he stumbles upon a woman in the woods, not suspicious at all. She was something of yore. Her almond-shaped golden eyes held no fear of him, only wonder. And while he could see the pulse beating fast in her slender throat, she didn't seem overly frightened. Her green cloak and rust-red gown with her pale ginger gold hair made her seem as if she were part of the forest itself, wild, eternally young and ancient of days, full of mysterious life and nature's secrets. Beautiful, magical. Are you real? Alistar whispered. The young woman nodded, her eyes never leaving his. Who are ye? I am Celadine. Celadine Talcott. Who the fuck is Celadine? Who the fuck is that girl? Who is this girl in this woods? Is she going to take my sweet little baby Alistar? I was worried reading this, y'all. I was worried. I said, please don't take his goofy ass. He just wanted a girlfriend. Don't take my goofy little puppy dog baby. Derek and his men search for Alistar. They do a head count. There's only 8 of them. Obviously one's missing. They go search for him. Derek commands that Julia be watched. And Julia is immediately triggered. And she's like, are you fucking kidding me? And Derek honestly is trying to be like, no. It's because it's for your safety. It's because you were nearly kidnapped a day ago. It's not because I think you a witch, but she won't. It's that typical romantic comedy miscommunication. She's pissed. He's trying to tell her no, it's for your safety. You were nearly killed. And she's like, it's because you think I'm a fucking witch again. We have mother-in-law versus Julia. And the mother-in-law talks some sense into Julia. I don't know how Julia understands her because she sounds like the blonde guy off of Brave, where you're just like, what? Isn't he speaking Derek or something? Some northern Scottish language. It's not Gaelic, it's Durick, I think. Or it's something with a D. Scottish people, you know. But it's very that. They are speaking technically a Latin-based English when you slow it down. But it is so quick and so guttural and vowel. Woo. Anyways, I don't know how Julia's understanding this woman. But they somehow, the mother-in-law snaps her into, girl, he loves you. Stop it. Stop it. And Julia's like, fine. I guess he loves me. And I love him. Damn it. We learn that the bride... Okay. Remember that board that I need to write? Remember the bride that Idana promised Kragan? That's Celadine. That's the girl that met Alistar. I need a whiteboard. God damn it. Where's my whiteboard? I have one somewhere around here. Okay. Remember, Kragan is mad at Derek because he got with his girl and all that stuff. Killed Derek's bride. So he's technically even. Not enough. He wants a bride. Idana promised him, I have a bride for you. I've been growing her in this cell. She's perfect. It's Celadine. Celadine met Alistar. And they're kind of having a thing. And you're just like, oh my God. So we kind of cut to Idana is like, I've got to take matters in my own hands. She turns herself into an old hag. She does the Snow White maneuver. While she's turning herself into an old hag, Celadine is in the tower with her. Because we learn Celadine was raised by Idana. Celadine is a fairy. She's of the Fae. Her parents died. Idana found her, raised her as a sister. So they're very close. And Celadine's like, I don't want to be in this tower anymore. I want to leave. And I don't like Kragan. He's gross and ugly. And I don't want to make his babies. I don't want to do this. And Idana's just like, girl, shut the fuck up. You know how much money we're going to get? We're going to take over his clan. Because remember, Kragan didn't sign a prenup. He signed the whole clan's heir to Celadine. It sounds so stupid in hindsight. But Idana's like, we'll just kill Kragan and we'll get everything. Shut up. It's part of my plan. I got to go kill Derek's lover, though. I'll be right back. BRB. Derek and Julia are fighting over Alistar. And Alistar is like, this clan's not big enough for me and you, Derek. Because Derek's just being a very protective big brother. And he's not letting Alistar kind of make his own mistakes and do what he needs to do. And Alistar's like, I gotta go. You're smothering me. I can't do this. And Julia's like the mom of the group. And she's like, oh my God, my baby. No, my poor little Alistar. Julia's at home as Derek and Alistar are fighting. Julia's at home and the hag shows up. And she pulls out some wares. And, you know, she's multi-level marketing to Julia. She's having the Mary Kay party in the kitchen. And Julia's like, oh my God, this is such a pretty comb. And the old hag's like, it is a pretty comb. Let me put it in your hair. Puts it in Julia's hair. Julia's dead. Which that would get me too, because I do love a pretty comb. I do love someone playing with my hair. So if a witch wanted to poison me, I guess they would just be like, do you want this really pretty butterfly clip? And I'd be like, yes. And then I'd be dead. All right. So we are getting down to the nitty gritty of this book, y'all. Hang on. Because remember, in all of these books, barely anything happens and then everything happens in the last like 3 chapters. Okay, so hang on. It's about to get crazy because we've got this much left. So we have Derek. He tossed down his grooming rag and bolted out of the stable. Even if he had to go on one knee and beg her forgiveness, he wasn't going to let Julia spend another night away from him. He burst into the house. Julia! He got no answer. He raced for the kitchen. Julia, love, He got no further. For a long, horrible moment, he stood in the doorway of the kitchen, staring at Julia's crumpled body lying on the floor. He fell to his knees beside her and gathered her up in his arms. He looked around wildly. There was no one around except that wee gray cat who was mewing at him and patting in anxious circles around her mistress, but the outside door was open wide. He patted Julia's cheeks. No response. She was so white. His heart contracting in his chest, he began to shout for help. He hauled her lifeless body up off the floor. It was then when he saw the glint of silver in her hair. He'd never seen that before. Ross and Alistar came pounding in the back door. Derek, what's... Alistar bounded forward. It was this. Derek's voice was actually shaking. He held up the delicate silver comb. Saints, her blood's on the tines. Y'all have to imagine how triggering that is for Derek. Because remember his first bride, Isabel, dropped off dead at his house. And here it is again. Like, this has to be his voice. I wish I could convey, again, I got to hire some voice actors, some Scottish people, convey this man. It reminds me of Forever and Beyond, these strong leaders of their tribes crumpling down at the sight of their loved ones dead. And they just start wailing and crying. Like you have to imagine Derek is in the kitchen floor shaking, tears welling in his eyes. And Alistar's like, oh my God, what happened? And he's like, she's dead. She's dead. It happened again. They took another one from me. So Tommy is the young one. He does CPR. Julia has been teaching the guys like modern first aid and self-defense tactics. And so Derek is beside himself, just shaking and crying. And Tommy's like, let me help. Let me help. I know how to do this. She taught me how to do this. He starts pumping on her chest and he goes down to breathe. And Derek's like, why are you fucking kissing her? And he's like, no. It's the breath of life. She told me about this. It's a thing where she's from. It's called the breath of life. I promise it'll work. And he starts giving her CPR and she starts coughing and she comes back to life. And obviously she pukes. She's like, I'm going to vomit. She was poisoned. She's poisoned. Obviously, Idana checks the mirror, sees the guys crowding Julia. She's vomiting, but she's alive. And Idana is just like, God damn it. Oh my God, what will it take to kill this girl? I put a poison comb in her head. My God. To which I'm like, what kind of poison was it if CPR brings her back to life? Come on, Idana, get it together. Derek goes to investigate in the woods because obviously Julia's being targeted. He's just like, I don't know what the fuck is happening with this girl. Like, who is after this girl? He's like, it must be another witch. And he's like, maybe this is a witch fight. But anyways, he goes to investigate and he does find some blood where Julia was attacked. So obviously something happened. And here we have this cute bit. This is the next day. Julia's resting and The guys gather around. They're so cute. They're kind of like the Seven Dwarfs. They're so cute. They gather around Derek and Julia. "The other lords and I have a proposal to put forth to ye, Derek," he said. "Will ye hear it?" And who is saying this? Hold on. Who is this? Liam. Okay, Liam is saying this. Derek looked a trifle annoyed, and he gave his assent. Liam nodded his thanks and cleared his throat once more. "As ye know, the traditions of our fathers and mothers go back generations, before the time of St. Columbia, before the northern men in longships, before the stain of Scone was set in place for the crowning of... Will I live long enough to hear the end of this proposal?" Derek drawled. The men laughed, and Liam smiled sheepishly. "I shall get to the heart of the matter. And that is, our hearts have been won by the movie tales of our Julia, the adventures of Indiana Jones, the gruesome tale, the alien, the tragic love that laddie Romeo and his Juliet. These are tales that shine with the best of our tales." He turned to Julia. "Having said that, wee Julia, I would tell ye that we have the name for the likes of ye in the Highlands." And y'all, I cannot say this word. Shine. Ooh, I'm not even going to pretend. SeanachAidh. A tailor of tale. A tailor of tales. "From ancient times, this word, have set before the hearths..." "The proposal," Neil prompted. Liam shot him an irritated glance, then turned to Derek. "In brief..." "God make it so," muttered Gordon. "In brief," Liam continued, ignoring him, "I have been commissioned by my fellows to ask that Julia Addison of New York be named as Tailor of Tales of Glen McStrone." I just thought that was a fun little bit. Again, I always picture this stuff as like movies and stuff. And I'm like, that'd be such a cute scene. Now she is the clan's teller of tales, which means she will tell the tales of the clan forever. And y'all, it gets better. That's not the only proposal that happens. Ah! Derek placed his hands on her waist and pulled her close. "Clan comes first. It's true, sweet. But my Julia is the bard of the McStrowns. She's a McStrowns lady. She's clan." She stared at him, her mouth slightly open with wonder. You mean that?" she whispered. He took advantage of her shamelessly and kissed her breathless. I mean it," he said, pressing his lips to her temple. "If you'll have me." She threw her arms about his neck and held on for dear life as he carried her off to the stairs. He proposed, kind of, sort of. I don't know. They're a thing. They're a thing now. They're a thing. I'm so excited. Ah! Oh my God, I hate to ruin this, but of course, as they are having the best fucking night, Idana is scamming with fruit. She's literally taking a cut out of Snow White. She's dipping an apple, of which I would never be tempted by an apple, but whatever. She's dipping an apple and making it covered in poison. Ugh! We kind of cut for the rest of this chapter, Julie and Derek doing as they do in these. They're fighting, they're making love, they're fighting, they're making love. It's great. Alisdar meets Celadine in the woods again, and she tells him the whole backstory. She's just like, my sister is Idana. She's a witch. I'm the heir to Kragan's fortune. He's like, oh my God, you're part of the enemy. And she's like, kind of, it's an arranged marriage. And like this whole time, Alisdar's like, I'll risk it all for something, you know? Like, he's just such a little 20-year-old. He's just like, I know you're the enemy. I know you're a fairy. I know your sister's a witch. But girl, you're cute. And we're in these woods. Julia sees the fucking apple on the kitchen counter, takes a big old bite, and dies again. She passes out, wakes up, and she's in the woods. And we have this. She sat up, her ears ringing madly. Derek, how did we get out here? Her words faded away as she opened her eyes to see she was standing in the woods by the standing stones. Oh no. No. Things weren't right. The trees were all wrong. There weren't enough of them. She had an acid taste a taste of citrus in her mouth, the scent of dying flowers in her nostrils. Both sensations were fading fast. She'd gone traveling ever since she possessed told her she was back in her own time, far, far away from Derek and the clan. No, she whispered, no, it's not time. I didn't mean for this to happen now. She couldn't go on. A cry of grief came welling up within her like the rush of floodwaters. A man shows up. And long story short, I'm sitting here like, long story short, it's been 2 hours. Long story short, on this side of things, Julia went back to present time. An FBI agent is there. And he's like, hey, girl, we were trying to get a hold of you. And she's like, you shot at me. And he's like, I was trying to get your attention. Duh. So obviously he's from America. It's like, I only shot at you to get your attention. Jesus. She sounds crazy, obviously, to this FBI agent. She's like, no, I'm supposed to be back in time. I'm with Derek and this is the Highlands. And he's like, oh my God, you hit your head so hard, little girl. On Derek's side of things, he has another dead bride. Like this time, like Julia is not waking up. Like the first time they brought her back with CPR in like a few minutes. It was very scary. It was very sad. This time, not a pulse. She's dead. She is clinically dead. And Cragen and Idana have another dead bride on their hands. And Cragen's pissed because he's like, Julia was supposed to be our bargaining chip. Because they have her body. I forgot to mention that. Oh my God, that's such a huge plot point. I'm so sorry. They have her body. And she was supposed to be used as a bargaining chip. Well, she's dead. And so Cragen's like, well, fuck. I can't now he's going to be super pissed at me. I killed his first bride. I'm not 2 for 2, Idana. Really? Derek's going to be pissed. And Idana's like, well, we'll just dress Celadine up as Julia. And Celadine's like, ugh. Derek rides up to Cragen's land because he knows Cragen has Julia. He's like, he's so enraged with grief. He's like, I will fucking kill everybody. And so he just strolls up to Cragen's tower. And he's like, give me my wife or everybody will die. And Cragen, they put the body double. They put Celadine up and they're just like, here she is. Now you listen here, mister. And Derek immediately is like, that's not Julia. And all the guys are kind of like, how can you tell? And he's like, I know her. That's not Julia. Cut to Julia. Julia has this smart idea if she wants them to carbon date her shirt because she's wearing Derek's shirt. And she's like, if I'm not from the past, carbon date this shirt. Carbon date it. And the FBI agent is telling her she's going to have to go into witness protection program because she witnessed things that she's already like, yeah, no shit. You could have just left me. Derek and Alistar are planning to try to get into Cragen's tower. Celadine shows up. She snuck out. Obviously, her and Alistar embrace and Derek's pissed. He's like, you're fucking the enemy? Really, Alistar? Really? Out of the stupidest things you could have done. And Alistar's like, no. She's only the heir. Like, she's a prisoner too. She's like a mail order bride from fairy world. She doesn't want to be here. We're here to rescue her. Anyways, Derek mounts up to go into the castle. He's on a suicide mission. He's so enraged with grief. Derek looked down at the woman who held his hope in her slender hands. There's one more thing I need to ask of ye, he said, his face tight and drawn. Yes? Is my lady still alive? She put her hand on his knee. I will not lie to you. I do not know if she is alive. Cragen and Idana would not permit me to enter the room where they have her. But I don't know that she is dead either. Take heart, Derek McStrown, she said softly. Your faith will be rewarded. He looked at her, but for his life he could only find neither hope nor faith in his heart, only fear and desperation. Oh, fuck. It's like, again, like this much is left, y'all. Everything. Y'all, I'm just going to rip it off like a Band-Aid like I always do. Julia takes a pregnancy test while she's in the modern era. She's pregnant. My head can't wrap around the time travel. Like, she's pregnant with the seed of a man from the 1500s. Like, what? She's pregnant. She's pregnant. I'm freaking out, y'all. I'm like, oh my God. These authors always just, they make me panic the last 3 fucking chapters of every novel. I'm just like, y'all gotta stop. Stop doing this. But she's pregnant. She's pregnant. She's pregnant. She's pregnant. Oh my God. Derek climbs all the way to the top of the tower of Cragen's. He drew his sword, sensing a trap. With each step he took towards the door that Celadine had told him led to Julia, he felt the hairs prickle on his arms and the back of his neck. This was too easy, but he had to go on. He reached for the latch, his stomach roaring with the sense of danger that seemed a part of the very air in this place. He glanced about and eased open the door. "Come in, Derek," said the woman who sat before him. "I've waited a long time for this meeting." There's battles happening everywhere. Okay, because Julia is in the modern times battling the FBI. She's like, put me in the witness protection program. I don't give a fuck. Just send me back to Scotland right now. And they're like, why do you want to go back to Scotland so bad? Anyways, she's battling that. She's trying to figure out how to get back to this time. Derek is in the tower with Idana, this crazy Helga Pataki bitch. And then the clan, the seven men and Alistar are fighting the entire Morriston clan. Oh my God. And so guess who shows up though? Guess who shows up to help? Derek's mom and all of the wives, even the pregnant one, because there's one that's pregnant. And you know how they distract the other soldiers? They all show up naked and they just start running around naked. And they're just like, and all these guys, all the Morriston clan is like, what the fuck? And all the seven guys are just like, that's our girls. You get them. We cut back to Julia. All right. She's back in Scotland. She's got a box full of shit. She rose and picked up a shovel. Going to the center of the circle, she sank the blade into the earth and began the task of burying the boxes she'd brought. There was no reason why she should do so, she knew. She was going on instinct, hope, and belief. When she was finished, she was weary and famished. She got a basket from the rover and sat down to feed herself and her child, smiling as she dreamed of telling Derek about the babe she carried. She could hardly wait. The moon was rising as she finished her meal. Full and bright, it was ringed with clouds that glowed from its light. She took it as a good omen. She was wrapped in her heavy wool cloak about her shoulders, but let a bit of Derek's shirt, which she wore as a blouse, show white in the moonlight. She emptied her mind of all thoughts but those of Derek, the clan, and the world of this clan McStrown. But something didn't feel right. Instead of flowers, she smelled smoke. Instead of the taste of lemons and oranges, she tasted the bitter tang of burning bush. She searched the landscape around her, expecting to see flames or deep gray billows rising into the night sky, but everything was calm and clear. She sighed and closed her eyes, trying to concentrate. Voices floated on to her in the wind. Screams. Cries of outrage? Jeers and howls? What was this? She was shaking now as she opened her eyes and whirled about in a circle. Was what she was hearing real? Was it in the present or the past? Desperation and fear gripped her. She had to get back. She had to find the secret. Something was wrong. Derek was in danger. Derek and Idana are in the tower, and y'all, it's cringy. Not cringy written bad. I'm saying for Idana, because the whole time, the whole book, she has been pining for this man and killing his brides and all of this shit. Y'all, he don't even remember her. He is Don Draper in the elevator where that little intern is just like, I feel bad for you. And Don Draper's just like, I don't even know who you are. It is that. It is, you feel, ooh, I was reading this and I was like, Idana, girl, the secondhand cringe I'm feeling for you right now. Because Idana's just like, hello, Derek, do you remember me? And he's like, no. And she's like, you don't remember me and our youth in Edinburgh and Caroline and we had a thing. You don't remember? And he's like, who are you? And you're just like, oh, I just want to like pull my skin over my face. I'm just like, fuck, that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. Cragen is pissed at Idana because she didn't hold up her end of the deal. Everything is chaotic. There is literally a battle being had. And he's like, fuck it. Let's fight. Him and Derek fight. And while they are up in the tower fighting and battling, and it's dramatic, Alistar is down in the midst of the big battle, the big battle, and the clan is like, Alistar, you have to be chief right now. You have to call the shots. And Alistar's like, I can't do it. I've never been put in a leadership position. And they're like, you gotta fucking do it. And while this is happening, the Morristons have lit the whole entire land on fire. And so Alistar's like, okay. We can't fight. We got to save the land. We have to save the land. We can't fight these guys. Work on the land. And so they're trying to, like, 1500s fire department put the entire woods out. It is very stressful. We cut to chapter 29. There's only 30. This is literally like 2 chapters here. Cragen's dead. Derek killed Cragen. But that's not the least of his fucking worries. Cragen was nobody. He was the Elon Musk of Scotland. Who gives a fuck about him? We're worried about Idana. You set me aside once before, she said. A bitter note crept into her musical voice. You must make up for that. He eyed her, trying to gauge the extent of her madness. Was it revenge she was seeking, or an alliance? I made no promises to you, Idana, he said. We scarcely spoke. Besides, ye had Cragen, remember? And he is, or was, richer than I would ever hope to be, and more powerful. He's a far better match than I. You deserve more. You're trying to flatter me, she smiled, perfect dimples showing in her cheeks. I'm speaking the truth. And now that Cragen's dead, you'll be rich one and all, for no doubt he's left you well provided. Ye wouldn't want the likes of me. I'm not but an ogre. You should see my poor clan's wealth could fit in your shoe. He lifted Julia higher on his chest and moved to past Idana. Remember, Julia's passed out. She's dead. So he's just like, I'm going to take her body and leave. The door slammed shut, though no hand had touched it. He tensed at the sudden awareness that he was dealing with not only a mad, jealous woman, but a witch. He would have to fight. He laid Julia down once more, hating to surrender her. He faced Idana. Now then, witch, what is it you want with me? Why, to love you, of course. Why else would I have gone to all of this trouble? We belong together, you and I, and now that Cragen's out of the way, I've made certain that you and I shall lead both clans. And if I say nay? She looked amazed. Why would you? Because you're the devil's own true love, not mine. Why, you jealous thing, you. Oh, pish. Once you've had a taste of the power I hold, the power I'll share with you, you won't care about the source. Once you have a taste of my loving of this body, you won't care about anything else. I know secrets of love-making that'll bring you ecstasies such as you've never imagined. She slipped her hands over his chest. And don't forget, you owe me. You not only scorned me in Edinburgh, but you stole Cragen's lady love. And now you've killed my benefactor. I know your famed McStrown honor wouldn't permit you to run away from this debt. He thrust her hands away. You're too twisted for words, Idana. 'Twas ye he killed Isabel. You preyed upon my people with sickness and mischief. You joked yourself with the Morriston and joined him against me, even as he killed my own father and uncle. You took an innocent maid and promised her to the Morriston clan, selling her as a broad mare to please his lustful pride. And you believe I'll give myself to you, that I'll love you. I'd sooner share my bed with a she-wolf than take up with the likes of you. Don't make me cross with you, Derek. People don't say no to me. I'm through talking, witch. Make your move. You won't get another chance. I've already killed your little black-haired bitch. Would you like me to show more of what I can do? Derek nodded. Aye, show me what you can do with no creeping about, working mischief in the secret. Her image began to dissemble before his eyes. She shimmered and sparks flew from her burnished hair. In a twinkling, she was transformed from an exquisitely beautiful woman to a flame-haired male warrior, his muscles bulging at his cross braces, a broadsword in his hands. Try me now, Derek, my love, came the obscenely feminine voice from the cruel masculine mouth. He lunged forward, and the battle was pitched. They fight. I wish I had hours to tell y'all like every little thing, but he kills her on the stairs. He maneuvers her. She falls down the stairs. He stabs her. Idana's dead. However, the woods are still on fire and Julia's still dead. Julia lay where he'd left her unchanged. In his most secret heart, he'd hoped that Idana's death might break some spell that she had cast over Julia, returning her to life. But when he held up a bit of mirror under her nose, the glass remained unclouded. He sank to his knees and howled in grief. Oh, fuck. Oh, what's gonna happen? Okay. They take her back to the clan. The fire's put out. The clan's defeated. Kragan's dead. Idana's dead. They all solemnly carry, like again, Sleeping Beauty, the 7 dwarves and the prince carry Julia back to the cabin and lay her there on the table. And Derek's mom is there. Derek, Mari came to stand beside him. He didn't look up. Derek, she's gone. We must make the burial plans. We cannot wait over long. No, he roared. I'll not have it. He drew his knife and it glittered in the torchlight. I'll not put my Julia in the ground, and I'll kill the first one who dares to take her from me. He leaned over Julia's body, touching her face. She looks so beautiful, he whispered. He twisted about to look at his men. Why is she so beautiful still? Liam, you're learned. Can you tell me? Alistar. The 2 men hung their heads. Derek looked back at Julia. It's as if she were asleep, he murmured, as if she could waken any moment. He tipped his head back suddenly. Bruce, he cried. What was the tale she told us the night before? Or the prince who kissed his lady and wakened her from a sleep of 100 years? Derek, lad, you must come away. But Derek didn't hear him. He was pressing his lips to Julia's, holding her head up to caress her cheek. Derek! Mari's tone was horrified. He ignored her. Somebody do something, she commanded. Let me through, damn it. Tommy burst out of the crowd. And again, Tommy with his goddamn CPR. He does CPR again, but this time, he reaches in because he remembers sometimes things get caught in your throat. What does he pull out? He pulls out an apple core. He pulls out an apple. And guess what? Julia coughs back to life. He removes the apple. She comes back to life, y'all. I'm so happy. And everybody's like, oh my God, she must have fainted or something. Like, they're trying to figure out what happened. Saints, Derek, don't tell her she fainted, Tommy said, grinning. She'll be so angry she'll feed us glue stew for a month. I'm afraid, lad, that what my Julia does is no in my control. Conscious or not, furious or purring with pleasure, Derek didn't care as long as she was alive. He knew it wasn't called for, but just to make sure, he bent down and kissed her, breathing a gentle breath between her parted lips. The kiss of life, he thought. The kiss of life with his Julia. It's not over. We have one last chapter. Whee! Okay. One last chapter. Here we go. Alistar and Celadine. Derek has finally relinquished control, obviously, of Alistar. And he's like, go make your own path. Become a man. He's sending him on his little man journey. And he, they have this really sweet brotherly moment of, you are a man. And I've always, felt you were, and I just loved you so much. We've seen it all the time of like, I just loved you. And it was my own selfishness. And Alistar's like, no, you were a good big brother. I've learned the best from you. It's just so sweet. They dig up Julia's boxes. Remember she buried boxes? They dig them up and they're full of like seeds and stuff. Like Julia's so goddamn smart. She buried seeds and medicines and all kinds of things that they could use. And as they are digging up all their stuff, Derek says, I'm thinking it's time to have a priest show up here. She froze. What? I said it's time we have a priest up to visit. There's something I need him to do if you'll be staying here. Derek, I thought we had this all settled. I thought with the past witch business, it was Idana. Remember, she was woman. I said I wanted something. I wanted to make something of it. I want to make you my wife. She gaped at him for so long until at last she felt his words truly enter her mind. They took a neat turn and sank, like a golden shaft of sunlight, straight down into her heart. You mean it? She asked softly. You'd want to take a fascist Sassinatch for a bride? I'd want you if you were wee Pee-wee Herman, he said solemnly. Oh God, she said, helpless against the laughter. Don't say that. Why not? Never mind. She went into his arms, her heart so full she thought she might float like a balloon. Just say it again. Or say what? Say what you want of me. Julia Addison, I want to make you my wife. She sighed rapturously. He shook her gently. And ye say? Oh, I. She laughed and kissed. I, my true love. It's not over, because we have Celadine and Alistar. And they joined clans. Now it's all one big clan. Because remember, Celadine inherited all of the Morriston land and money and everything. And her and Alistar are now a thing. They joined clans. So now it's just one big happy clan. And Rose gives birth. I mentioned a pregnant lady. And she gives birth to her baby. And they name it Harrison Ford McStroud. And let's read the last page. Derek pushed through the bedroom door and kicked it shut behind him. He deposited Julia gently on the bed. More than you worry. I thought it was going to be harder going up those stairs. Julia gave him a cat-like smile. That's because you've put a babe in your wife's belly. Derek stared at her, thunderstruck. She laughed. Don't look surprised. Did you imagine after all your sporting your seed would fail to find its mark? A burn, he said wonderingly. How? When? Can we still? We'd better, she said, twining her arms around his neck. Just wait till you see what surprises I brought ye from the other world. His eyes came more alive with heated interest. You don't mean? She nodded. I'm not very far along. I can still fit nicely into some of those silky briefs and bras you say you like so well. Of course, there might be a wee more up top than there was before, but you won't mind that too much, will ye? I'll struggle with it, he said solemnly. Good, she said with a soft giggle. She sat back and began to undo the laces off the top of her gown. Wait. She paused, her hand at her throat, her eyes questioning. Trying to control your wife already, Lord Derek? He shook his head. Julia Addison McStroud, I'll say it again and again. You're like something out of my dreams. He placed a hand on the soft, sweet swell of her abdomen. Aye, and so are ye, my husband, she said, softly leaning to kiss him. And are we no lucky that dreams come true? These books kill me. I just want to throw it. God damn it. These books are fucking ridiculous in the best way. God. Okay. I love this book. Again, not a heavy plot book. It's literally just her hanging out with Scottish guys for like the whole book. But the character dialogue, the humor, the wit, lobsters, no mobsters, lily scented soap coming down the river. Like just, they captured such good Scottish wit. Like it feels like you're literally watching, I don't know, a Scottish version of Derry Girls with a bunch of dudes. I don't know. That could be it. It could be Derry Girls, but with Scottish Highland warriors. And it's just all 7 of them getting into some trouble. But I thought that Julia was a great character. I thought she was written really realistically. And I loved when she went back to the present time. She was like, fucking put me in the witness protection program. I don't give a fuck. Let's hurry up and get on that plane. I need boxes. I got places to be. She didn't sit there and was like, oh my God, I'm back. Do I need to like vibe here for a minute? She was like, I got to get back to Scotland. I got to go. I got to pack up boxes. I need seeds. And they're just, and the FBI's like, don't you want, like, do you need help, man? And she's like, I got to go. Take me back. Go put me back. I'm fine. Okay. Put me back. And like, she totally like, again, it's said in the book and I did a terrible job, but I can't talk about everything, but like she doesn't have her mom and she's estranged from her dad and she didn't have siblings. And so all of these girls in these novels are always like so not into their families. And they're just like, yeah, I'll fucking just completely move my life away for this guy. But I mean, that's a super popular trope in even like mangas and animes and donmes and stuff. And I thought that Alistar, like again, there's 7 lords and then there's Alistar and Derek, and all of these guys are written so cute. You get to know each individual one. Again, I wish I had more time to like really get into each guy, but it's like the 7 dwarves. They're all hilarious. They have hilarious banter. Again, I would have hired someone with a Scottish accent to sit here and do this banter because I'm not bringing it justice. But very cute, easy read if you want to find it. Or just wait until my year anniversary on this channel because then I'm gonna sell them. Not all of them. I'm going to keep the ones I really enjoyed, but I am going to sell because y'all hear it all the time. I don't like clutter. You see this clutter behind me? This is organized clutter. Organized clutter. Okay. I know where everything is. I want everything. Like I grew up with like not a hoarder of a mom, but definitely, she has a lot of shit. And so I don't like a lot of shit. That being said, let's go ahead. Okay. The Patreon. What movie should we do for the Patreon? Because we can do the Ted Danson Lochness Monster one. We could do the Harrison Ford because she talks about that movie a lot. The Wanted one where he's with the Amish girls. We could do that one because that was actually mentioned in this book. I've never seen that one, so that might be fun to recap. My fucking cat is going to meow constantly this whole video. I know y'all can't hear her, but she is staring at me through this window and just screaming at me. So I'm going to try to wrap this up so I can go let her in the house. Okay. I will put on the Patreon this week. I'll put some movies up. Like I said, there's a Ted Danson movie. There's the Beauty and the Beast mini series from the 1980s that not a lot of people know about, where he's in the sewers. Do y'all know about that? There's that one. We could do, like I said, the Harrison Ford movie because they talk about Harrison Ford a ton in this movie. I will come up with like 4 options and you can go on the Patreon if you're a member and we will vote, because I'm not going to probably do that video for another 2 weeks, because remember, next week is Steamy Scenes where we're going to go over that scene that we just read. And yeah, so we have time. Okay. Next month, we're going to start our Mermaid Summer. Now, this is Soul Song by Marjorie M. Liu, and I'm very excited because this is our first author of like Asian descent. I'm super excited to see what she writes. Now, let's read the back of this. Okay, real quick. Do y'all play LADDIES, Love in Deep Space? It's a mobile game, and one of the characters is a merman. If you know the game, you know the game. If not, look it up. I play it. I spend a lot of money on it. Anyways, my favorite character is called Raphael, and he is a merman. Will I be picturing him in this novel the entire time? Yes. Yes, I will. That's kind of why I bought it. I was like, ooh, Raphael fanfic. But anyways, let's read the back of this so we can prepare for Mermaid Summer. A deadly harmony. Against her will, Kitala Bell foresees the future, but only deaths and only violence. Kitala's own future is in peril. From the ocean's depths rises an impossible blend of fantasy and danger, a creature whose voice is a seduction incarnate, whose song can manipulate lives the way that Kitala herself manipulates the strings of her violin, even to the point of breaking. He is a prince of the sea, an enigma, a captive stretched to the limit of his endurance by a woman intent on using him for the purest evil. And when survival requires he and Kitala form a close partnership than either has ever known, the price of their bond will threaten not just their lives, but the essence of their very souls. Soul Song. Ooh, I'm excited. Okay, I gotta go let my cat in. She's driving me nuts, and like 9,000 people have fucking called me during videoing this. So I will see y'all all on the Patreon next week, and the rest of y'all I will see next month. Bye.